swear or affirm that the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Please make yourself comfortable.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
State your name for the record, please.
Amber Renee Geiger.
Amber, you're going to have to keep your voice up while you testify, okay?
Okay.
How old are you, Amber?
31.
Are you married or single?
Single.
Have any children?
No, sir.
All right. Where were you born and raised?
In Arlington, Texas.
And do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have one brother and one sister.
Okay. Who's the oldest?
My sister, Allie.
Your sister, Olive?
Allie?
How much older is that?
She's 38.
38?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How about your brother? How much older is he?
He's 2 years older than I am.
What's his name?
David.
What's he do for a living?
He's in the Navy.
How about your sister?
She works at a restaurant.
So you were the youngest.
Yes, sir.
When you grew up, were your parents living together?
No, they were not.
Okay. When you were, as a small child, were they living together for some time?
Yes, they did for a little bit.
What time did they separate?
About when I was 5 years old.
Okay. Who primarily raised you after that?
My mom did.
In Arlington?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did your mother work?
She did for beginning when I was a childhood.
Okay. Did she have a full-time job?
Part-time job.
How were y'all, the family, provided for financially?
My dad helped out a lot with us.
Okay. Was your mother primarily a stay-at-home mom when you were younger?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what part of Arlington did you live in?
In the east part of Arlington.
Okay. Were you in a big house, small house?
It was a small house.
Tell the jury where you went to school and all.
I went to elementary to Blanton Elementary, and then I went to Carter Junior High, and then I went to Sam Houston High School.
Okay. And you graduated from Sam Houston High School?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you were in high school, did you have any extracurricular activities?
Yes, I did.
What were those?
I was in swimming, band, orchestra, and I played in mariachi band.
Okay. So you enjoyed music?
Yes, sir, I did.
What type of instruments did you play?
I played violin and trumpet.
Okay. When did you learn to play the violin?
I started playing violin when I was in the 5th grade, and I picked up trumpet when I was in the 9th grade.
Okay. So you were in the marching band and the orchestra,
Yes, sir.
and you also joined the mariachi band.
Yes, sir.
When did you join that?
I joined it my junior year of high school.
Okay. And what instruments did you play in the mariachi band?
Violin, trumpet, and I sang.
Did you continue that after you graduated?
Yes, sir, I did. Did it for about 6 years. Some of the girls that were with us in high school, we started our own, and we just go to like quinceañeras, to Mother's Day, Father's Day, to birthday parties, and just perform.
Okay. The neighborhood you grew up in and the school you went to, was it multiracial?
Yes, sir, it was.
All right. Let me talk a little bit about your other activities in high school. Did you begin to work when you were in high school?
Yes, I did.
Tell the jury what job you held while you were in high school.
I worked at a retail store called Stephen Barry's in Arlington.
And what did you do at the retail store?
I was a retail associate and ended up working my way up to an assistant manager.
How many hours did you work while you were in high school?
It was full-time.
Now, when you were growing up, you eventually became a Dallas police officer. Did you figure out what you wanted to be when you were a little kid?
Yes, sir, I did.
About how old were you when you started thinking about it?
I was about 6 years old when I was young.
Did you continue with that and still have that desire as you grew up?
Yes, I did.
Why did you want to be a police officer?
I just wanted to help people, and that was the one career that I thought I could help people in.
Okay. In high school, did you do anything to try to further your goal to become a police officer?
Yes, sir, I did. I did ride-alongs with the Arlington Police Department.
Okay. And after you graduated from high school, had you looked in or researched what you would need as far as background to apply and become a police officer here in Texas?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what types of things did you need to do before you become a police officer?
I had to attain a certain number of college hours to apply to different departments.
Okay. So after you're out of high school, did you start going to try to achieve those college hours?
Yes, sir, I did.
Where'd you go?
I went to Tarrant County Community College in Arlington, and then I went to UTA to finish, to do my degree in criminology.
Okay. Did you move out of your house after you got out of high school?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. How'd you pay for your school?
On my own.
Okay. Did you continue working at the sales job you had?
No, sir, I did not.
What did you do to earn money to go to school and to live on?
I started working at TGI Fridays and was a waitress there for a lot of years.
Okay. How many hours were you working while you were going to school?
Full-time as well.
40 hours?
More than 40 hours.
Okay. And how many hours would you take at a semester usually?
Full-time, 12 hours a semester.
12 hours?
Yes, sir.
All right. Once you started going to the University of Texas at Arlington, what was your major?
It was criminology.
Okay. How many hours did you eventually accumulate there at UTA?
It was a little over 100 hours.
Okay. You didn't get enough quite to get a degree though?
No, sir.
All right. Now, your research into hours needed, had you looked into the Dallas Police Department, how many hours they require?
Yes, sir, I did.
How many did they require at the time you applied?
Yeah, it was about 45 hours.
Okay. Did you make a decision then at that time to apply with the Dallas Police Department?
Yes, sir, I did.
And were you accepted?
Yes, I was.
When did you start at the academy?
First day was November 6th of 2013.
November 6, 2013.
Yes, sir.
How did it feel to get accepted to the Dallas Police Department?
It was good. It was the one thing I've always wanted to do since I was little, and was happy I finally got to reach my goal.
Okay. I want to talk with you a little bit about what you went through and what you learned at the academy, okay?
Yes, sir.
How long is the Dallas Police Academy?
It's 8.5 months long,
Okay. How many days a week do you attend the academy?
Monday through Friday.
How many hours?
40 hours.
40 hours a week?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how many classmates did you have in the academy?
We started out with 46 recruits and ended up with 36 recruits.
Okay. And what types of classes are you taking during the day at the academy?
You're taking a lot of penal code, code of criminal procedure. You're learning how to do traffic stops, use of force. You go to the shooting range. So.
Okay. Let me ask you a few questions about that. Were you trained when confronting a suspect who you may feel is dangerous on how to handle that situation?
Judge, I don't object to the lady at this point.
State whether it's a fact or not that you had some training about whether you were trained in the area of handling a suspect you might be dangerous.
Judge, I'm going to object to the form of the question for to state a particular matter. I request to be questioned and answered.
Oh, go ahead.
You can answer the question.
Yes, we did.
Tell us some of the things. Were you instructed on commands?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell the jury how you were instructed about commands.
We did a lot of verbal commands, and the one command that was important is to always see the suspect's hands.
Okay. And why did you need to see the suspect's hands? Why were you trained to learn that?
The hands, if you can't see them, they're usually reaching for a weapon that's going to be used against us.
Okay. So it's important to find those hands and see them.
Yes, sir.
Were you instructed on the type of command to give a person when you confronted them in that way?
Yes, we were.
And what was that command?
So let me see your hands. Let me see your hands.
Okay. Was that taught to you more than once?
Yes, they drilled it into us.
Okay. Did you receive any training regards to how close, if a suspect should get to you?
Yes, we did.
And what was that about?
The closer the suspect would get to us, it would be a bad day for us. You never wanted anyone to get close to you.
Okay. And did you successfully graduate from the academy?
Yes, I did.
How'd that make you feel to go to that graduation
I was happy.
Were your family and friends there?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Now, the Dallas Police Department is divided up into different patrol divisions, is that right?
Yes, sir.
What, and when you graduate, are you assigned to a particular division when you come out as a rookie officer?
Yes, sir, we were.
Okay, where were you assigned?
I was assigned to the Southeast Division.
Okay. And by that description, that covers the southeast part of Dallas?
Yes, sir.
Is that a division that you wanted to be assigned to?
Yes, it was.
And why did you want to be in the Southeast Patrol Division?
That's where we were always told where you could learn the most and grow the most as a police officer. You would see a different variety of crime, and it was just a place where you were always going to stay busy. You could never be bored there.
Okay. And when you started as a patrol officer, are you put out on your own right away, or is there some further training?
There's some training you have to go through.
What type of training is that?
We have to ride, it's 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Each phase lasts about 6 weeks long, and we ride with a trainer.
Okay. And it's how many weeks long with each one?
6 weeks.
Okay. Did you successfully make it through that type of training?
Yes, I did.
And after that, are you released on your own to patrol by yourself, or is there some further training?
There's a little more further training. We have to ride around with a little T partner, which is a more experienced officer.
Okay. And you made it through that?
Yes, sir.
After that, you were a regular patrol officer with the Dallas Police Department.
Yes, sir, I was.
And what types of duties do you have as a patrol officer?
We respond to calls mainly and just patrol the area.
Okay. How long did you do that?
I did it for a few years.
Okay. Did you find that type of police work rewarding, or as rewarding as you thought it'd be?
Yes, sir, I did.
At some point in your career, did you want to move up to another section in the police department?
Yes, I did.
And what was that?
It was our CRT, and it stands for Crime Reduction Team.
Okay. Does each division, geographic or headquarters, like Southeast, Southwest, do they all have their own CRT team?
Yes, sir, they do.
Have you seen and know some of the officers that work in the Southeast CRT team?
I didn't know any at the time when I applied.
Okay. Tell the jury what the application process is about.
We put in an application, and once we have to go through an interview process in front of a couple of sergeants. They just go through a lot of scenarios and questions and what we would do in those instances.
Were you accepted to the CRT team?
Yes, I was.
And when was that?
That was in the beginning of January of 2017.
Okay. How many officers were in the CRT team with the section you were in?
There were 5.
And were you the only female officer?
Yes, sir, I was.
And what types of things does the CRT team do?
We focus primarily on drug complaints that we receive from citizens. We also create our own investigations, and just we would assist DEA, a lot of FBI, and if they needed help apprehending a wanted felon.
And how is that different from a regular patrol officer?
We don't respond to as many calls as a regular patrol officer would. It's more self-initiated activity.
Is it something different every day that you encounter on the CRT team?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Did you enjoy that?
I did.
All right. Now, you didn't know those officers real well when you joined, but did you quickly come to know them?
Yes, I did.
And do you often work as partners in the CRT team?
Yes, we do.
Did you partner up with different officers when you first got into the division?
Yes, I did.
And you met Martin Rivera, and he was part of that team?
Yes, sir, he was.
And did you know him at all before you joined the CRT?
No, I didn't.
Team?
No, sir.
Okay. After you had worked with some of the officers, did you have a desire to work as a partner with Officer Rivera?
Yes, I did.
And tell the jury why.
He was the one officer that I looked up to, that he had a lot of experience, and I felt comfortable and safe around that we could find stuff and create our own work.
Had he been in the CRT, or was he the oldest officer on that team?
Yes, sir, he was.
And had the most experience?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did y'all begin a close working relationship?
Yes, we did.
I'm going to object again to the ongoing leading.
Please don't leave, Mr.
Okay.
Shute.
As partners, how long would y'all stay together during the day, during the shift?
8 hours a day.
Spend a lot of time together.
Yes, we did.
As far as Martin Rivera goes, did y'all develop an even closer relationship?
Yes, we did.
We've heard evidence, we've seen evidence of text messages, we've heard some testimony from Officer Rivera. At some point in time after you became partners, did that develop into a sexual relationship?
Yes, it did.
Did people know about that?
No, not many.
Did you not want people to know?
I did not.
Why?
I was embarrassed because he was married.
And as far as the sexual relationship, is that something you engaged in, sex with Martin Rivera on a daily basis or an oftentimes?
It wasn't that often.
How often would you say it?
Maybe once a month.
Okay. Did y'all start texting each other, sending each other sexually explicit photographs, that sort of thing?
Yes, we did.
Did that become a routine habit between the two of us?
Yes,
How long did that part of the relationship, the sexual relationship, last?
a year at the most.
Do you remember the exact time of when the sexual part of the relationship, the sexual relations ended?
No, it had to be either late 2017, early 2018.
You don't remember it exactly?
No, I do not.
And why did that part of the relationship come to an end?
I knew it was morally wrong. I didn't want to hurt anybody, and I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere.
Okay. Did you remain close to Martin Rivera?
Yes, we did.
Did you continue these sexual flirtations, texts, photographs?
I did.
Did you, were you still working in the same relationship as partners?
Yes, sir. On and off.
Describe that, how that worked, how often you worked or how often you worked with the other officers.
I would ride around with other officers, some of the guys, Justin, Mac, and Bruce, on the CRT team.
Now, where were you living in early 2018?
I was living up in Uptown Dallas off McKinney Avenue,
Living with anyone or
just by myself.
did you have any pets, anything like that?
I did. I got my dog Ranger. He's a little Yorkie in 2018,
What part of 2018?
the beginning of 2018.
When your lease was about to be up, did you make a decision about whether you were going to stay in that place or go somewhere else?
I wanted to go somewhere else.
Tell the jury why.
I was a courtesy officer at the place in Uptown, and I decided I just got tired of responding to loud music calls, and we would constantly have to patrol the area, so I decided I didn't want to do that and just wanted some freedom.
Tell them a little more what a courtesy officer is.
Courtesy
I'm
officer,
going to check to the relevance.
courtesy officer, we just respond to a loud music complaint that a resident would put in, and there would be a lot of break-ins in the garages, so we would have to report those and do a report on them.
Do you get a benefit from being a courtesy officer?
Yes, they would give us a discount on our rent for doing that.
So you decided that you were going to go someplace else.
Yes, I did.
And where did you decide to go?
To the South Side Flats.
Why did you choose the South Side Flats?
It was close to work, didn't have to drive as far.
Okay. And when did you move in there?
It was mid-July of 2018.
The apartment number you lived in was what?
1378.
We've seen the floor plan for that. It's been put in that
Yes.
one bedroom apartment.
Yes, sir.
And who did you live there with?
Just my dog.
The photographs we've seen of the evidence for your apartment, is that how it was always furnished?
Yes, sir.
After you moved in there, did you encounter some problems with some crime problems with the South Side Flats or the area around it?
Yes, sir.
Did you do any research on that?
I did. I would look, whenever I would go to work, I would just look at the crime or what was happening in that area.
And what types of things did you see in that area?
There would be a lot of robberies and a lot of break-ins in that area.
Did you ever encounter people on the property that gave you some concern at times?
Yes, I did. There would be a lot of times when I was driving into work that there would be people, or like homeless people, passed out on the patio chairs in the pool area.
Any idea how they were able to gain access?
They would jump the fence. It wasn't that high of a fence, so that's how they would get in.
Okay. How about with your dog? Did you ever have to take him outside the property?
I did.
And when would you do that?
I would do it every morning. I would wake up and when I got home from work and whenever I would get ready to go to bed.
Okay. Did you have any safety concerns about that?
I did.
And what precautions did you take?
I would carry a pocket knife with me when walking him.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your routine when you were living at the Southside Flats, okay? What time would you usually go to bed?
Around midnight.
And what was your work schedule? What days would you usually work?
I worked Monday through Friday, 8 to 4.
Okay. Did you also work a part-time job?
Yes, I did.
And when was that?
That was Sunday mornings, and it was at First Baptist Church, and that would be from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay. Did you do that every Sunday?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what would be your usual day off then?
Just Saturday.
You could have had Sunday off, but you chose to work an extra job.
Yes, sir.
Did your duties as a CRT officer in that team, did you sometimes work overtime?
Yes, we did.
That wasn't unusual.
No, sir.
If you weren't working overtime, what time would you usually get home to the South Side?
It would be around late 4 o'clock, almost maybe at the latest 4:45.
Okay. Did you have anything specific you like to do in the evening when you got home?
Yes, I did.
What's that?
I always liked to go work out.
Okay. Why did you like to work out?
It relieved a lot of stress. You see a lot of stuff that you don't want to see on a daily basis, and that was my way of relieving that stress and trying to feel normal.
Is that what you did on a daily basis, to work out?
Yes, sir, I did.
How about if you worked overtime, long hours?
I would still go work out.
That was your regular routine?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this: when you would go to the Southeast substation, what route would you take?
I would just go on Lamar Street, and I would turn left onto Corinth Street until I got to Cesar Chavez, and that's whenever I would jump on the ramp to 175.
Okay. Did you take the same route to and from work every day?
Yes, sir, I did.
Where would you park in the South Side Flats?
I would park on the 3rd floor.
Were those floors clearly marked as the 3rd, 4th, 2nd floor?
No, sir.
Did you have a specific area you liked to park in?
In the front area of the parking garage on the 3rd floor.
Okay. And when you'd park, how would you get to your apartment?
I would walk through, I think it's considered the south hallway of the apartment complex.
Are those the hallway we've seen on the photographs that have been entered into evidence?
Yes, sir.
When you would go down that first long hallway and take a left, how did you know when you were coming to your apartment?
When turning left, there's a guardrail, a wooden wrought iron guardrail, and it looks over the balcony of the courtyard.
Okay. And why is that a landmark?
That's where I know my door is.
Is it near that balcony?
Yes, sir.
What side of the hallway is it on?
It's on the left-hand side.
Okay. As you're walking towards it, it is on the right-hand or left-hand side?
The balcony's on the left-hand.
Okay. And then your apartment is where?
On the right-hand side.
That's 1378.
Yes, sir.
to turn your attention to the week where Thursday, September 6, 2018, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start at the first of the week. Did you work your extra job on that Sunday?
Yes, sir, I did.
That Monday, was that a holiday, I believe?
Yes, sir.
What holiday was that?
I believe it was Labor Day.
Okay. Did you work that day?
Yes, sir.
And we have the records and evidence. You worked all the way through Thursday, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You worked overtime on some of those days?
Yes, I did.
How much overtime do you recall?
By the end of Thursday, I believe I was at 44 hours.
Okay. That's something that would often happen when you worked in that division?
Yes, sir.
At some point during the week, had you made a request for some time off?
I did.
Tell the jury when you made that request.
I made it earlier in the week. I wanted to take off the Friday.
Okay. So that was your plan, to take off Friday?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about that day, September 6th of 2018. Was anything going on in your apartments, or you been alerted to something that might happen in the apartments that week?
Yes, the apartment complex sent out an email that they were doing a moisture inspection that whole week, and we wouldn't know when they would come. They would just come between the hours or 8 to 4 or 8 to 5.
Okay. During the day?
Yes, sir.
Did you, did that concern you about your little dog Ranger?
Yes, it did.
Okay. What were your concerns about that?
I didn't want the maintenance, or whenever the maintenance man, Ranger likes to roam around, and I didn't want him to open the door and let Ranger out.
Okay. So what did you do with Ranger?
I took him to my mom's.
Where does your mom live?
She lives in Arlington.
When did you take the Ranger to your mother's?
That previous Sunday.
Okay. So he wasn't there that week?
No, sir.
On that morning of September 6th, what time did you wake up?
At 5:30.
Let me ask you, you told us earlier you go to bed usually at what time?
Around midnight.
Okay. Do you always go to sleep right away?
No.
Do you have trouble doing that sometimes?
Yes, sir.
Every night, or how long?
It varies. So it's not every night. It could be 2 or 3 nights a week.
Okay. How long does it take you to get to sleep sometimes?
A few hours.
Are you able to catch up on that sleep sometimes?
Yes, sir.
When do you do that?
I usually do it on Saturday mornings.
On your day off?
Yes, sir.
You got up at your regular time that day?
Yes, sir.
What time did you leave for work at the Southeast substation?
It was around 7:20 a.m.
Okay. When you left, did you tell the jury how you left your apartment?
I drove out the garage.
No, before that, your actual apartment, the apartment.
Oh, I would leave and lock my door.
That was your normal routine?
Yes, sir.
Would you make sure the door was locked?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever have any trouble locking the door?
There were times when you do have trouble locking the door.
What type of trouble?
You would put the key in, and even though you would turn it, it wouldn't lock all the way. And you would have to pull the door and work with it to make it, the deadbolt go into the key.
On that day when you left it, was it your normal routine to make sure that door was locked?
Yes, sir.
Or was it locked then?
Yes, sir.
Do you leave your lights on or off?
I turn them off.
How about your TV? Do you leave that on or off?
Off.
So you left around 7:30 and then went to work.
Yes, sir.
What did you do when you first got to work that day?
I got on the computer and did some research of what crime was going on and what we could start on something that day.
Okay. And as you progressed through the day, were you assigned with the other officers to go somewhere?
Yes, we were.
And what was that?
We were assigned to go help the SWAT team help locate these robbery suspects that we have been looking for.
Are those some suspects that you and others on the team had already been working on?
Yes, they were.
Okay. What What new information did y'all get that caused y'all to have to meet with SWAT that day?
We got notification that they received a ping and located 3 of the suspects.
Is that ping? Is that how they find someone through a phone?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember about what time you and your other officers met up at SWAT?
It was around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock.
Okay. And where was that location in Dallas?
It's at the Central Substation in downtown Dallas.
Was a plan given to you at that time about what your role in this operation would be?
Yes, it was.
And what was your role going to be in the other CRT officers?
We were the ones responsible for the perimeter around the area in which SWAT would be serving the warrant.
Okay. After you were given the plan, what happened then?
We followed SWAT to the location, which I believe was on L.C. Fay Hagen's.
Okay. Once you got there, what did you and who were you working with partner that day?
I was working with Martin.
Okay. What did y'all do once you arrived at that scene?
We parked on the street on perimeter, so we wouldn't allow traffic or any people to walk in front of the area in which SWAT was serving the warrant.
Okay. Is this where SWAT went charging in, or did they try to get the suspects to come out?
They tried to get the suspects called out through a microphone, so they wouldn't have to force entry into the place.
Okay. Now, are these the same suspects that you had been working on with your team?
Yes, sir.
And what did you know about these particular suspects?
That they were armed and very violent.
Okay. Even though when you say perimeter, how close were you to the actual house where SWAT is surrounded?
It was about maybe 30 feet away. It wasn't that far.
Okay. Were you near the corner there?
The corner.
Okay. So are you and Officer Rivera and the other CRT members just kind of standing around, or is it a tense situation at that point in time?
It's a tense situation at that point.
Why is that?
Usually whenever SWAT, the person runs out of the house, we're the ones responsible for running after the suspects.
Okay. Did everything go pretty smoothly that day?
Yes, it did.
Did the suspects come out right away?
No, it took them an hour or more for them to come out.
Okay. Did SWAT have to use something to get the suspects out?
Yes, they had to use tear gas to get the suspects out.
Okay. Did the tear gas bother you in any way that day?
No, sir.
All right. Once they brought the suspects out, what happened next?
All of our CRT guys were responsible for transporting the suspects to headquarters.
Okay. And did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Oh yeah. The SWAT officers didn't charge him with the tear gas. How did that happen?
I believe, I'm not too familiar with how they do their procedures on tear gas, but I know they throw it in there.
Okay. All right. So y'all made it down to headquarters where they'd be interviewed?
Yes, sir.
And where's that headquarters?
That's located at Jack Evans off of Lamar Street.
Is that close to the South Side Flats?
Yes, sir.
Once y'all got at headquarters, what happened then?
We put all 3 of the robbery suspects inside a room and waited for them to be interviewed by our robbery detectives.
That take some time?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. At some point, did some of the officers on the team leave?
Yes, they did.
Who left?
My partner Martin did.
Do you remember about what time he left?
About 5:30-ish or 6.
Do you know where he was going?
Yes, I did.
Where was he going?
He was going to go to a Boy Scout meeting for his kids.
Oh. Any of the other members of the team leave also, at some other time?
Yes, they did.
Who was that?
It was Bruce. He left.
Okay. Why did he leave?
He had to go to an extra job that night.
Okay. So, as you were waiting on the suspects to be interviewed, that's a little bit of downtime for you, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did y'all eventually get something to eat that evening?
Yes, sir.
Where did you get something to eat?
One of the guys on the team and I, we walked down to Zalot Pizza. It was right near headquarters.
Did you bring that back for everyone?
Yes, sir.
All right. At some point in time then, were you asked to transport those prisoners over to Lucero jail?
Yes, we were.
Okay. Now, we've seen in the evidence that after Martin Rivera left, close to 6 p.m., did he send you a text message?
Yes, he did.
Okay, that's the one I think where it says, what time can I come over?
Yes.
And then you responded to it, correctly?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you said you can come over, I forget what you used on there, but it was a sexual connotation, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is this the type of text y'all often sent to each other?
Yes, it was.
Was there ever a real plan for Martin Rivera to come over that night?
No, there was not.
Had he ever been over to the South Side place?
No, he has not ever been there.
Okay. Did you even know if he knew you lived in the South Side
I
place?
had no idea if he even knew I lived there.
But that's the type of banner y'all would send each other during the day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Later, when you were down at Lucero, did he contact you again?
Yes, he did.
And what did he want to know? Or did he do that by text or phone call?
He did it. He texted me that night.
What did he want to know at that time?
He just wanted to know how everything was going.
Okay. Anything unusual about that?
No, sir.
And then what time did you leave Lucero jail approximately?
It was about 8:40-ish, close to 9.
Okay. Around that time, I think the jury has seen that Martin Rivera sent you a photograph.
Yes, he did.
Was that a sexually suggestive photograph?
Yes, it was.
And soon after, when you got to the Southeast substation, what did you do at that time?
All three of us, because there was 3 officers left, so we drove around to each of our cars to put our equipment up. And then I went to dock my body camera and filled out the paperwork for what we did for that night or day.
Okay. One of the texts that you sent, Martin Rivera, talked about you being sleepy.
Yes, I did.
I think it actually says sleepy.
Yes, sir.
Is that how you felt that day?
Yes, I was tired by the end.
Okay. As you were walking to your vehicle, and what kind of car do you drive?
A white Dodge pickup.
Okay. As you were walking to your Dodge pickup, had there been some more communication with Martin Rivera via text?
Yes, there was.
What was that about?
We were just I believe it was just still what was going on with the day, but eventually called me.
Okay. And you sent him a photograph also, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And it said, I believe in the text, want to touch.
Yes, I did.
All right. More of the stuff you would do on a daily basis with him?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When he called you, what were you doing? What were you doing?
I was driving, I was leaving Southeast and driving home.
And that conversation lasted some time.
Yes, it did.
What did y'all talk about?
We talked about what happened throughout the day and what we did with the suspects. He wanted to know if they confessed to any of the robberies, and then I was asking him about what his Boy Scout meeting and everything went with his kids.
Did y'all often have these types of conversations?
Yes, sir.
Would you usually call him or would he call you?
He would call me.
And what generally would he be doing when he called?
Usually he would just be leaving the gym or a store.
Okay. And y'all just have casual conversations?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you call him often?
No, I did not.
Why not?
I knew it was wrong, and I never knew where he was at, so he always called me.
He's married?
Yes.
All right. Did you, as you drove, while you were talking to Martin Rivera, did you go the same way you always do back at the South Side Flat?
Yes.
Anything unusual happen during that drive?
No, it did not.
Okay. As you got back to the Southside Flats, we've seen some photographs and video of your truck going in. Do you recall that's how you made entry?
Yes.
You didn't actually have to use a fob or card or anything like that?
No. I had a gate opener to get in,
But you were on the phone with Martin Rivera when you drove in?
yes, sir.
Tell the jury where you went in your truck.
I went up to the 3rd floor to park my truck.
Okay. You now know you weren't on the 3rd floor,
Yes.
but you believe you were.
I believed I was.
Okay. Did you ever pull off anywhere to continue a conversation before you parked on what you believe is the third floor?
No, I did not.
Was the parking lot pretty full?
Yes.
Is there any place to pull off besides into a parking space?
No, there is not.
And you drove up to what you believe was the third floor?
Yes, I did.
And how'd you park?
I backed my truck in.
Okay. Was that your normal procedure, how you park?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Once you parked, did you get off the phone or did the conversation continue?
I stayed on the phone for a few minutes after I backed my truck in.
What did you feel when you parked? Where did you park at in the parking lot, on the third floor?
I parked on there in front of the doorway that I always go in. I kept thinking I got so lucky to park somewhere close. I didn't have to carry all my equipment around or far.
Okay. So you concluded the phone call and you have equipment that you carry in every day?
Yes, sir.
Do you take that equipment home, ever leave it at work, or is it something you have to bring home?
It's something I always bring home.
Okay. What kind of equipment is that?
It's usually my lunchbox, my backpack, and my heavy vest.
Okay. Got me out, bro.
Yes.
All right, I want to show you 3 items that are marked Defendant 74. You recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That's my heavy vest.
Okay.
Oh. Yes, that's my heavy vest.
Okay. Defendant 75
That's my lunchbox,
and Defendant 76.
and that's my backpack.
Okay. These are the items that you had in the car?
Yes.
Okay. We'll offer Defendants 74, 75, and 76 with the understanding that we'll remove the contents of Defendant 75, Judge.
An objection.
Yeah, I'll admit it.
Now, let me show you 74 again. You say this is your, what you call a heavy vest?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell the jury what you mean by heavy vest.
Heavy vest is what's going to stop a rifle round. It's more durable than a regular vest that goes under us, but you still have to put it on over your uniform as well.
And when do you wear this?
Usually we wear it if we're serving a warrant or if we get go to a call where we know the suspect has a high powerful gun or just even a regular gun.
Okay. Had you been wearing it this day?
Yes, I have.
Did you wear it all day?
No, I did not.
What time of the day did you wear it?
I believe I wore it during the first part, but I can't really remember.
When
I
you
know
were
I had
out
it.
at the, with SWAT?
Yes, I believe. No, I didn't because I had my body camera on with SWAT.
Okay. Then 76, what is this?
It's my backpack.
Okay. And you carry stuff you may use at work in this?
Yes,
Where do you usually store that?
that's usually in the trunk of our car.
Okay. Then 75, is that just your lunch?
Yes.
How heavy is this?
That's about 30 pounds.
Okay. And that's Defense 74.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about when you were leaving the truck. I want to show you it's States 175. Is that your truck parked where you parked when you were finishing your phone call with Martin Rivera?
Yes, it was.
You believe you were on the 3rd floor at that time?
Yes, I did.
Is this the viewpoint you would have had once you got out of the truck and closed your door?
Yes, it is.
And stage 25, is that a view of the truck as it would park looking back from the doorway?
Yes, it is.
Okay, we can see the parking spot's pretty cool.
Yes, it is.
Please don't leave, Mr. Shook.
I'm sorry.
Sustain.
Right. Once you got out of the truck, what did you do with your equipment?
I carried it with me.
Okay. Tell the jury how you usually carry the equipment.
I always carry my equipment in my left arm.
Okay. Why is that?
We're always taught to keep your gun side hand empty at all times.
Okay. So your normal routine to carry all that equipment in your left hand.
Yes, sir.
As you got out and started to go to your apartment, can you tell the jury what path you took?
I went directly down that path, down the hallway.
Okay. Are there any markings, or can you point out any markings that you can see there near the doorway or on the columns?
No, sir.
Is that how it appeared on that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As you near the doorway, is it your habit to look around at the roof lines, the skyline, anything like that?
No, it is not.
Do you remember how you entered that door?
I
Did
just,
you
it
need
was,
a key or anything?
I didn't need a key.
States 88, is that a photograph of the hallway?
Yes, it is.
That's how you proceeded down the hallway?
Yes, it was.
Did you encounter anybody?
No, I did not.
What was your state of mind as you went down that first long hallway?
I was just ready to go home.
As you turn left, you go down another hallway, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Look at States 92, is that the other hallway?
Yes, it is.
And States 93, is that getting closer down the hallway?
Yes, it is.
Let me go back to 92 for a second. You said, talking about knowing where your apartment is, can you see on the photograph the area where that courtyard is?
Yes, it's on the left-hand side.
Down in, well, I'll just point out here, down in this area, we see some police tape, but down on the left side.
Yes, by that guardrail.
These columns here, do you know what they are?
Those are emergency doors, or they're these metal doors that shut.
They're open now.
Yes.
All right. And States 93, is that a closer view of where the courtyard is? Do we see that over here?
Yes, sir.
Now, Amber, let me ask you, what's your normal routine when you get to your apartment, how you open that apartment?
I just pull out my keys and put it in the keyhole.
Okay. And when you put it in the keyhole, what happens?
Usually you put it in, a light will turn, it will be either green or red, and you turn it to the left to unlock it.
I'll show you States 98. Does that show the area of does that show where the key goes in and also the handle?
Yes, it is.
Now, when you're going home, you always have this equipment in your left hand or left arm. Is that right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So how do you operate the key into the door?
I just put it into the keyhole, turn it left, and then I would open the door handle, or pull the door handle down and just push the door open.
All with your right hand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have to put the key in, get it to unlock,
Yes.
and then use the handle.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All the time you're holding your equipment, is that right?
Yes.
And obviously you have to turn this handle to open the door and get it open.
Yes, sir.
I want to show you another photo marked Defense 63. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a measurement from the ground up as to the height of where that key goes in.
Yes.
64. You see the number there?
Yes, I do.
What's that?
43.
Okay. And 42, where the actual key looks like it goes in?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, approach again, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay. Could you sit down for a moment, please? And you're wearing flats this time, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, your work boots, would they have been maybe a little bit taller?
Yes.
How tall are
We
you?
couldn't hear you.
Okay. Gonna have to
You
keep
guys
your voice
speak
up
up, Miss Geiger.
since we're away from the mic.
5'3".
Can you hear that? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. 5'3"? Okay. So you would have been a little bit taller that day.
Yes, sir.
All right. We've got the tape here up to 42 inches. Can you just stand up next to that, put your back to the wall so we can see where that strikes you on your body? Okay. Is that the height you had to use to put the key into the keyhole?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead. Okay, Amber, let me ask you this. In your life, have you had to drive in a car, try to avoid an accident, or in a collision ever had that situation of being perfectly calm and then going to a very excited state?
Yes, I have.
Can you tell the jury when that's happened to you in the past in those situations, what happens to your body?
Judge, I'm going to object to previous conditions or previous circumstances. What is irrelevant in this case is going to be what happened on September the 6th, so I object to the relevance.
Can I see the attorney's name?
Judge Conyers, what do you think about what we're hearing so far?
Well, at this particular moment, they're definitely, the defense wants to set the stage for what her state of mind, a very important state of mind, and so they're asking the judge to let them go into, in past situations when you've gone from that resting, calm state to a state where you need to react quickly. You know, how does that make you feel? How does your body react? What goes through your mind? And the state obviously doesn't care about what's happened in the past. They just want to know about how she reacted that day. So I think, you know, the rules of evidence will allow evidence to come in about your habits, about how you normally do things on a routine basis. And since she's a police officer and normally does respond to emergency situations, I'm not going to be surprised if the judge allows it.
How do you think she's coming across so far?
Well, I don't know. I've been taking some notes. I think she's a little too reserved, maybe. She's definitely nervous. She's not doing a lot of talking comparatively as I thought she would. I don't know. I think she could be a little more descriptive about her thoughts and her feelings and how her day went, and don't seem to be getting a lot of detail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like they're about to start back up.
Yeah.
Okay, Amber?
Yes.
You've told us about how you normally open that door. But it didn't happen that way, did it, that day? Okay. I'm going to, I want to go through a few things that happened at that door and in that room with you now, okay?
Yes, sir.
And I approach you. And I'm going to need you to step back. Okay. Stand right here. Okay. First of all, when you were walking down that hall, I want you to show the jury how you carry this equipment, okay?
Your Honor, can we take a break?
Please retire.
All right.
Take about a 10-minute break. You all may be seated.
Okay, so they've taken a break. Why would the judge go ahead and take a break right now?
Well, I think it's obvious just to give her a moment to compose herself. We're getting to a very, very critical piece of testimony now. It's also to assist the jurors. I mean, the jurors need to hear what she's going to say, and you know, obviously they're going to make the decision of whether they believe it or not, but they do have to hear it, and she has to be able to convey it in some form or fashion. And so the judge typically judges when you get to emotional parts of the case, regardless of the witness, whether it's the defendant or some other witness, they're going to give them a moment to compose themselves.
How important is it for the jury to see some emotion out of Amber Guyger?
I think it's very critical. I mean, they need to know that she's not some automaton. They need to know that she had some reaction on a human level to what she did. They need to know that whether, you know, they need to hear whether or not this is what kind of person she is to judge. Like, you know, is this her type to be violent? Is it, you know, does she have emotions? You know, that kind of thing. They just need to know some of that basic humanity from her.
Well, and they spent quite a bit of time talking about Martin Rivera and her relationship with him. How important was it for her to go through that, and did she come across as believable?
Well, she needed to be honest about it. You know, it's a human thing that she's talking about, but she needed to be honest with the jury. I mean, her credibility is everything in this case, and so if she tried to minimize that or not address it or whatever, that would not have been, I don't think the jury would have bought that. And if they're not going to believe her on that, then it's going to say, well, what other things are we not going to believe her about?
She gets caught in a lie.
That's right.
She's
She's
so to
toast,
speak.
right? Yeah, because
right.
if they can't believe her if they can't believe her when they know it's going to go against her, then in terms of having a relationship with a married man, then you know, if they can't believe her that, then they're not going to believe her on the critical stuff.
Well, you know, clearly her and Martin were sending salacious texts to each other earlier in the day. So if they weren't really going to meet up, why lie about it?
Yeah, that's certainly. I mean,
she's already admitted they had a
right,
relationship, so
yeah.
why not just
say he was going to come over, or, you know, or whatever. Yeah. So that could be a point. I'm sure the defense will argue it in their closing arguments that, look, she wouldn't lie about. I mean, she's told you about the relationship. She told you she was embarrassed about it. She told you it was immoral. Why would she lie about whether he's going to come over or not? That it's a minor point, but it's going to be one that I'm sure they will want to tell the jury, to say, look, she told you the truth about that one point. She was telling you the truth about the relationship. She's telling you the truth about the whole thing. It's going to be their argument.
But it clearly, if you're on the jury, it doesn't. People don't look kindly upon that sort of thing.
I think you're
Although
right.
we all know what happens.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. And so.
Can't imagine that everybody on that jury is perfect either.
Right. Exactly.
So. They didn't go through the issue of the deletion of the text, though. I mean, we know that the texts were recovered.
Mm-hmm.
They were the only thing they couldn't recover was some images, and of course Snapchat, which automatically deletes.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. Why do you think the defense wouldn't go through that?
I would expect that they probably are going to go through it. They're going to have her get through this, and I think they're also going to. They're going to do some questioning about what did you do after the shooting, the days following. Why did you do those things? And so the deleting of the text, my understanding, is happened after the shooting. I don't know how many days after, but I'm sure they will talk about it then.
So let's just kind of reset here. So yesterday, the prosecution rested, and Amber Guyger took the stand.
Mm-hmm.
Was it surprising that she was the first witness up? I know a lot of us were expecting that she might be, but you just didn't know what they were going to do.
I thought they would probably lay the foundation. I probably thought that they would lay the foundation before calling her, but I guess I shouldn't be overly surprised that they called her first, and then they're going to have some supportive witnesses afterwards.
Okay, I've just been told that we are also now live on TV,
Oh.
So I want to welcome. 1 minute. We're 1 minute out. Okay, so well, just let me know.
Oh, okay.
Then I'll welcome them then. We had these. Let's back up to what happened with the judge talking about David Armstrong. And okay, so David Armstrong is and I may bring it up again when we get back on
sure.
TV, but David Armstrong is the lead Texas Ranger, and he had testified the other day outside the presence of the jury that he did not believe a crime had occurred. And it's pretty clear the defense, they want to get this in. What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, I think I was thinking in my mind that when the judge said that she was not going to allow Trooper Armstrong to testify to those things this morning, that may have been a trigger for the defense to say, okay, well, let's call Ms. Geiger now, because the judge's point of view was, well, there's no evidence to support Trooper Armstrong's testimony at this point. But by calling Ms. Geiger now, I suspect she's going to lay the foundation for what Trooper Armstrong could later testify to. So they're going to end up calling him at some point.
They want to basically set him up as an expert witness.
Correct.
They had him on their list, so clearly that's what they're looking to do, and they want the jury to hear as much of his testimony as is possible.
Correct.
Hold on a second. I think we're about to be. No, hold on. Okay, sorry.
So I think
lots of like signs.
No, so I think the judge's point was like they were talking a lot about the shoes and what the shoes might tell about where Mr. Jean was in the apartment.
But the shoes got moved around.
The shoes got moved around, but my guess is Ms. Geiger's going to testify. Mr. Jean was at this location, and once somebody testifies as to what a possible location for Mr. Jean was at, then the defense is going to call Trooper Armstrong to come in and say, if he was there, then this,
Right.
and then they'll pose hypotheticals.
So they're using Amber Geiger, right?
Right.
To set that testimony up.
That's right, and that's what the judge was saying this morning. She's like, there is no evidence that he was wearing shoes. There is no evidence that he was standing in this position. Well, Ms. Geiger was the first. She was there at the scene. I don't know if she's going to testify. Mr. Jean was wearing those flip-flops. He was standing right there. I don't know what her testimony is going to be, but if she says that, then that lays the groundwork. That satisfies the precondition that the judge had about whether or not Trooper Armstrong could testify.
Okay, they're still giving me signals over there.
All right.
Are we live?
Tara's pitching.
Thank you to our viewers out there. I'm joined by Judge Rob Conyas. We've been talking about Amber Guyger. She took the stand this morning. What did you think about her testimony so far?
Well, I thought it was a little reserved. I expected to see or hear a little more detail, a little more about her day and what she was feeling. I mean, we did get some of that. I was expecting more of it. She seemed very nervous, though. And
you'd be nervous too.
I would be nervous too. So that may contribute to a little bit about why tight-lipped. That's the phrase that comes to my mind. So I expected her to be a little more descriptive. I'm not surprised that she became emotional once we got to the point of the testimony where she was about to enter Mr. Jean's door. So I'm not surprised that we got there, that she became emotional at that point.
Because no matter how reasonable her actions were or were not, it's an emotional thing to remember either way.
That's right, and we were talking a little earlier that I think the jury's going to need to see a little emotion from her. They're going to need to know that she's not some automaton that's just a slave to her training, that she has some human reaction to what she did, so the jury needs to see a little bit from her.
They spent a lot of time initially on her background. Why did they need to do that?
Partly to begin to establish an emotional contact with the jury, to let the jury see that she was a girl that became a woman that had dreams. She wanted to become a police officer, that she's not just this evil person who is defined by that night, to create some emotional connection for her and the jury, because even though jurors are there to make decisions on the law and the facts, there is no doubt that emotion comes into it, and so that's primarily the reason for that type of testimony.
Why start with Amber Guyger?
I was a little surprised at that. I thought the defense may call some other witnesses to lay a foundation for her ultimate testimony, but I think they may be doing it in reverse. So they call her first. She's fresh this morning, presumably, get her story out, and then have supporting witnesses throughout the rest of the day and maybe into tomorrow to help explain and expound on whatever her testimony is going to be.
How long would you expect them to have her on the stand?
Well, we've been going for an hour. I would expect easily probably another hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then probably turn her over to the prosecution for cross-examination at that point. So I think she'll be on definitely for the rest of the morning, probably.
Maybe all day.
Maybe all day, because then the defense will probably ask her some rebuttal questions. Mm-hmm.
Now, do they have to be, I don't know what the right word is, careful in how they approach her when the prosecution comes,
I wouldn't use the word careful. I think they're going to be tough. I think they should be tough on her. She's got a lot of explaining to do. If her direct examination doesn't in detail lay out, and especially if her testimony doesn't match what we know to be facts that aren't going to be in dispute, then I would expect the prosecution to bring that out and bring that out hard. And so I expect that they will be very tough with her.
Well, let's talk again about David Armstrong. And so David Armstrong is the lead Texas Ranger, and we heard testimony from him outside the presence of the jury, essentially saying that he did not believe she had committed a crime, that he believed that she legitimately thought he was an intruder, and that testimony, the judge did not allow it in for a variety of reasons. And the defense again tried to get that testimony in today, and the judge basically said, well, you can't show where botham-jean was, you can't show where the sandals were. So where is the defense headed on that, and what's going to happen, you think?
The defense, I think, rightly so, desperately so, maybe even, they want to call an expert that's going to say that her actions were reasonable. They were reasonable per police training, they were reasonable per the situation. And so they're obviously looking to Trooper Armstrong to establish that testimony. The judge set a precondition to Trooper Armstrong's testimony is that you need to establish some facts that Mr. Jean was standing in a particular place in the apartment when he was shot, if the shoes that he helped establish that, either because he would, then you need facts that show that he was wearing those particular shoes. And so, again, I don't know what Ms. Geiger is going to testify to. She may be able to testify that when Mr. Jean was shot, when she shot him, he was wearing those shoes and he was standing in this place. And if she does testify to that, then that will satisfy the judge's precondition for Trooper Armstrong to then come back and say, if those were the facts, then her actions were reasonable, or however he's going to say it.
So you think there's a high likelihood that some amount of testimony from him could be allowed in?
Yes, I believe a very high likelihood. I think, once the threshold is believable evidence offered, in terms of nobody, even if the judge doesn't believe Ms. Geiger's testimony about,
there just has to be something.
There just has to be in evidence. Once that threshold is laid, then I think the judge will allow the expert testimony and let the jury ultimately decide.
Let's talk again about Martin Rivera. So, why did she have to talk about Martin Rivera? They had engaged in a sexual relationship. She claims that it did not continue past either late 2017 or early 2018. Would there be any reason for her to lie about whether or not that had continued?
They had to talk about Martin Rivera because they have to be honest with the jury. And, it's pretty standard that if you've done something bad, if you've done something you're not proud of, if you've done something that you believe is immoral, and you reveal that to the jury, that's a way to begin to build trust. And people ought to then see you, okay, well, if you're going to say those things about yourself, when it's going to hurt, it's going to put you in a bad light, then I could probably begin to believe you that you're going to be honest with me about other things. And so they had to do that. If they didn't do that, if she had tried to minimize it or deflect it in some way, that would not have set her up to being a truth or good character, good for credibility with the jury.
Would there be any reason to lie about whether or not it had continued? I mean, you've already admitted you did, so.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be no reason to lie that I can think of. I mean, if she says, yeah, we were having this relationship and he wasn't going to come over, I mean, why lie about that small point, if he really was going to come over that night?
I mean, I'm guessing the prosecution's going to argue that she's lying about it because it goes to whether or not how exhausted she was. That's the only thing I can figure.
Yeah, that I could see that point, and we'll see if they go there with their cross. Yeah, we'll see if they go there with their cross.
What about her descriptions of where she parked? How key is it going to be for the jury to believe that she legitimately thought she was on the third floor?
I think it's going to be absolutely key for the jury to believe that. If they believe that she made a mistake of fact, that she legitimately thought she was on her floor, then that's they're going to be the prerequisite for them, for the defense then to argue self-defense, and and get the jury to that point to believe that it was self-defense, and ultimately to get an acquittal. If the jury doesn't believe that there's no way she could have thought she was on her floor, then that brick that lays the foundation for the rest of the defense just falls apart. And
let's explain to folks out there mistake of fact. Let's explain just sort of the legal arguments. What has to happen here for her? What does she have to prove?
Sure. So mistake of fact is a legal defense in the penal code to where every crime, let me back up one step. Every crime has to have both an act and it has to have you have to have a certain mental state when you're committing the crime. The mistake of fact goes to negate her state of mind. If she legitimately thought what she was doing was the right thing to do, was lawful, she had every right to be doing what she was doing because she believed a set of circumstances existed, then that would negate the criminal mental state that the prosecutors have to prove. If the jury believes that, then it sets up the stage for self-defense. So the self-defense then comes in for her actions once she enters the apartment. Because if she's established that it was a mistake of fact, that she thought it was her apartment, then because she thought it was an apartment, the law will allow her to act in a certain way to defend her property, to defend herself. And if the jury believes all that, then the defense would have laid a foundation for an acquittal.
The Castle Doctrine.
The Castle Doctrine. So the Castle Doctrine, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, there you go. Explain it.
The Castle Doctrine is, the law basically says, if you're in your house and someone breaks in, and you defend yourself with deadly force, the law presumes that your actions are reasonable. And that's what we're talking about here, is are her actions reasonable? So everybody who's been watching since the beginning, the prosecution is not going to go with the Castle Doctrine, because they're going to say, well, she wasn't at home, even if she believed it was her house and that Mr. Jean shouldn't have been there.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. She wasn't at home, so the Castle Doctrine doesn't apply, and she doesn't get that presumption of reasonableness. The defense was laying down the predicate for a Castle Doctrine. They're going to say she was at home, she was there, when she entered, she was there, and the Castle Doctrine should apply, and the jury should presume that her actions were reasonable.
How important is it for the jury to believe that botham-jean is coming at her? You know, because the prosecution in their opening statements contended that he was basically just cowering. That's what they said. They described him as cowering behind a 3-foot wall. And they've also really honed in on the fact that he was sitting on the couch eating ice cream, something that we've all done, a very routine thing. So how important is it for her to convince jurors that she really legitimately believed he was an intruder in her apartment?
Right. Well, I think that will be a very, very important point, because especially if the judge is not going to charge the jury with the Castle Doctrine, then she has to believe that he was coming at her in her own apartment, and she'll probably testify that he wasn't following her commands or whatever. But to make the jury believe that Mr. Jean was taking some aggressive action towards her.
They also talked about that lock, that there was issues with the lock. The way I understand it is that the strike pad had bowed out and the door had kind of come to a rest, and botham-jean is in his own apartment, so he had not locked the door. He didn't have to. It's his apartment. But how important is it going to be if she testifies that, I saw that, I saw it was partially open, and that mental state.
Right. Right. It'll be very interesting. Those will be one of those details that will either lend or not lend credibility to her testimony. We didn't get to that point in the testimony, so I don't know what she's going to say. But is she going to say, I got up to the door and the door seemed cracked, and so why is my door cracked? Who could be in there? Whatever. Or is she just going to say, the door, as I was putting the key in, the door opened, and then I see this man in my apartment. I don't know what her testimony is going to be, but it's going to be a critical piece of testimony, because that will begin to explain what her thought process is, and I feel like I'm saying a broken record, but I think she's going to have to do a good job of explaining to the jury exactly every thought she was having, to help them understand, was she acting reasonably or not.
Let's talk about bullet trajectory. Yesterday we heard testimony from experts about the bullet trajectory, that it came in around his left nipple area and then went down and then came to rest kind of about an inch from his spine, and it was a devastating wound. It went through his diaphragm, it went through his stomach. I mean, his internal injuries were massive. So the prosecution was basically, their contention is that he was kind of cowering, and that she just shot him kind of from as he's cowering, and the defense, I think, is going to try to say that he ducked after that first shot. So what does she have to say about that?
I think not only is the bullet trajectory going to be extremely important, but the orders of shots and how far apart they were. So we've heard testimony from some of Mr. Jean's neighbors about the noises that they heard and the timing between the noises. Is her testimony going to comport with that? Which bullet was first? Was it the bullet that hit Mr. Jean, or was it the bullet that ended up in the wall? That will also kind of give the jury some idea of how she reacted, how quickly, things of that nature. But the bullet trajectory evidence is very, very key.
We've got Rebecca Lopez on the line. Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm sitting here watching the family go back into the courtroom. Both of Sean's family came out of the courtroom right after the judge called the recess. It's really it's tense. I tried to go back into the courtroom a little while ago, and the bailiffs were just trying to keep everybody out, give the family some room. Very tense and emotional right now, obviously, as Amber Guyger breaks down on the stand, and the judge calls a recess to make sure that she gathers herself before testimony continues. But both of Sean's family, they didn't seem real upset. I've seen them throughout this trial just in tears and emotional, but they seemed very calm as they were going back into the courtroom just now.
Are we getting a sense of what the jury's reaction is so far to her testimony?
No, but you notice that she keeps turning and looking to the jury. I noticed that some of the witnesses throughout the trial have looked directly at the prosecutors or the defense attorneys. Amber Guyger clearly has been told to try to connect with the jury because she keeps turning to the jury and speaking directly to them a lot.
Judge, how key would that be? Has she been kind of taught to do that?
Yes, they would have practiced with her to, hey, when I ask you a question, don't look at me with the answer, turn to the jury and give them the answer, because they're the ones who have to, number one, hear you, but they want to make that eye contact.
How much prep do you think she went through?
Oh, if we've gone through an hour, she's probably done 2 hours of prep for that 1 hour, I would think.
And Rebecca, what has stuck out to you so far from the testimony we've heard?
Well, they're going through methodically, why she wanted to be a police officer, trying to get the jury to connect with this is a woman who her whole life's dream was to be a police officer. She reached that goal and attained that goal because, according to her, she wanted to help people. So they definitely want to put a human face to what happened with Amber Guyger's side of the story. And so I thought that was, the judge has excluded some things when it comes to her background, and she keeps admonishing Toby Shook for leading her in some of those types of questions. But clearly, they're trying to get this jury to feel sympathetic for Amber Guyger, that this is a woman who gave her life and her career to wanting to help others, and it ended tragically.
The judge and I have been talking about that. He thinks that part of what they're trying to do with Amber Guyger is, in her testimony, get things into evidence that would help set up David Armstrong, get David Armstrong on the stand to testify to some of what he said out of the presence of the jury.
Absolutely, because part of what they excluded, obviously, was her frame of mind and what he thinks as a trained law enforcement officer. I mean, he told the judge in that hearing, and when he testified, I thought that she was in fear for her life. And then, they went through the whole, what were you taught at the academy when you are coming across a dangerous person? Hands up, hands up. Remember, there was early on some sources telling us that she did shout commands, let me see your hands, let me see your hands. And so that, I think they're trying to bring some of that in that was not allowed in earlier in the trial. The whole training aspect, let me see your hands, is to try to set up that she really did think he was a burglar, and then Armstrong's testimony.
All right, we're back on. We're back in the court. Now, Jason Wheeler joins us now. Okay, so we're now watching the courtroom. Looks like we're getting a little bit of audio. One of the things that we know is that audio is going on and off because the judge has made it very clear that she does not want audio when they're not on the record. In fact, some members of the media and some of the pretrial hearings, it wasn't anything nefarious, but she was very clear about it. We've learned the hard way about. Here we go. going to go to first aid. I was going to go to body cams. I was like,
But I can understand when Rebecca says there's a lot of tension in the room. I mean, we're watching it, so we don't feel it.
We
but
don't
you've
feel
been
it.
you've been in those you've been in
Oh,
courtrooms
yeah,
with
I
you can
have.
You all may be seated. Mr. Shook, you may resume your examination of this guy.
Come over here. I want you to stand right here. Okay? Now, we're going to pretend the door is in this area, okay? Kind of facing this way. I want first to put this equipment on your arm like you were when you were carrying it down the hallway and you came to the door.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Mr. Sugar. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, I want you to position the equipment on your body the way you had it when you were walking down the hallway and came to the door.
Can you bend the microphone in your direction, Mr. Shook? Thank you.
Around here. I'm going to caution you to keep your voice up, okay? All right. First, Judge, I want to offer two exhibits, Defense 77, 78, which are still photos from the state's video 51.
No objection.
They're both admitted.
Amber, as you came up to the to your door, I want to, and your door will be right here. I want you to show the jury how you took your fob out and went to put it into the keyhole.
Your Honor, object, I can't hear.
You're going to have to keep your voice up.
I always keep my keys in my front right pocket. When I was approaching the door, I would grab out my keys and walk up to the door where I know where the lock is at and insert the key fob into the lock.
And is that what you started to do on that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As you inserted the key, or started to insert the key into the lock, did you see anything wrong with the door?
I saw it was cracked open.
Okay, keep your voice up.
It was cracked open.
Okay. And that's as you're putting the key in?
Yes, sir.
And when you say cracked open, you see the exhibit on the monitor. Okay. You remember that video when they showed how the door didn't close? Now this is from the inside. Were you viewing the same type of situation with the door from the outside?
Yes, I was.
Okay. As the key goes into the keyhole, that's when you saw the door?
Judge, I'm going to object to the leading again.
Sustained.
Did you see anything else or notice anything else at that point in time?
I heard moving around inside my apartment.
What type of moving around?
Like loud shuffling, someone walking.
Okay. What happened when the key actually went into the keyhole?
It forced the door open.
Normally, you have to unlock it and turn it on.
Yes, you did.
Judge, again, I'm going to object to the leading.
Judge, I'm just trying to reorient from the prior testimony so we can get through this.
But you cannot leave, Mr. Shook.
Okay. What do you do normally?
When I come home, I just put the key into the keyhole, and then I turn it to the left, and then I unlock or use the door handle and turn it down and push open the door.
And what happened this time?
What happened was I put the key into the lock. I see that it's cracked open, and at the same time, I'm hearing this moving around. But me putting the key fob into the lock is pushing the door open, and everything's happening all at once.
Okay, let me ask you that. We're breaking this down, but how fast can you tell the jury this is happening?
Less than 2 seconds. The motions of me doing all this is less than 2 seconds.
Tell the jury what you felt inside and what you felt in your brain when you saw those three things happen.
I was scared to death.
How quickly did that happen?
Less than 2 seconds. It was quick.
Okay. Why were you scared?
I thought I came home and they're inside my apartment. And that was alerted me on this. Your heart rate just skyrocketed. This feeling you never want to feel again.
Your Honor, if the demonstration is over with, I'm asking this, can we go
It's
back?
not over, Judge. I'll sit down when it's over.
Okay, let's go through the demonstration and we can do the discussions later.
Can I
Yes,
refrain from being interrupted?
well, if
Did you
he
instruct
feels
him?
the need to object, he
I
has the
understand.
right to object. Your
All right.
next question, Mr. Sugar.
Now that, as you were telling the jury what you were feeling, I think you were saying something about what you were feeling in your chest.
I compare it to being into a car wreck. Right before you hit that car, you literally just, everything freezes up inside your body. You don't know what's going to happen next. It's just fear, pure fear inside of you.
Was there a light on inside your apartment?
No,
Or what you believe was your apartment?
no, there was none.
As that door began to open, what were you looking for? What was going through your mind?
My cat, since I knew somebody was moving around inside my apartment, I wanted just to find that threat.
Okay. What were you feeling with that
Fear,
first?
scared as crap.
Okay. As the door opened, did you see anything in your apartment?
Yes, I did. That's whenever, directly in the middle towards the window is when I saw this silhouette figure standing back there. I'm sorry.
I can't hear you, I'm silence.
Repeat that again, please, in a louder voice.
Whenever I fully opened the door, I saw this silhouette figure standing in the back middle of the apartment by the window.
You're saying figure?
Yes.
Okay. As you were opening, and how did the door get fully open?
I used my left arm to fully open it. And at that time, that's whenever I'm drawing my service weapon out.
All at the same time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you saw that figure, or silhouette of a figure at the back, did you do anything?
Yes. That's whenever I pulled my gun out and I yelled at him. It's like, let me see your hands, let me see your hands.
What was the figure doing?
It moving around.
Okay. Did that cause you some concern?
Yes.
Why is that?
I couldn't see his hands.
How fast does this happen?
Real fast. It's seconds.
Okay. Are you still holding your equipment?
Yes, I am.
How's the door staying open?
I'm using my equipment to prop it open because those doors are heavy.
Okay. What did the figure do after you said, let me see your hands?
He started coming towards me.
Okay. How fast was he coming towards you?
At a fast-paced walk.
Wasn't running?
Wasn't running.
All right. When you saw him coming towards you, what was going through your mind?
I thought that he was coming at me. Since I couldn't see his hands, he was going to kill me.
Did you hear anything as he was walking towards you?
There was a loud yell. He was yelling, hey, 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 in an aggressive voice.
Okay. I'm going to let you put this down. Now, first I want to put you over here. You said you saw this figure against the wall and he was moving around.
Yes.
Can you just demonstrate for us the manner in which you saw the figure moving
He
around?
was just moving around, just pacing back and forth.
Okay. And that's what you saw when you opened the door?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then you described what the commands you told it?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to imagine that you're at, where exactly were you inside the apartment?
I was at the doorway. I remember feeling that silver bottom thing on my feet.
Okay. So you're at that area, this is the doorway. And we talked about this before, haven't we?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this general area in here, do you feel that's the area as close as this figure got towards you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know the length of your apartment from the front door to that back where the figure was is how far?
30 feet.
Okay. And I showed you a mark for this about right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I want you to first tell the jury exactly how loud you said, let me see your hands.
I said, let me see your hands, let me see your hands.
You had the gun point.
Yes, sir.
And the figure was moving around as you described.
Yes, I have my gun pointed, and I'm saying, let me see your hands, let me see your hands.
What were you focused on?
Him.
Just him?
Yes.
And then he began coming towards you?
Yes.
And as he became coming for you, that's when you heard him speak?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to do that now, all right?
Yes, sir.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
And that's at that point whenever I shot.
Somewhere in this area.
Yes, sir.
When you shot, what happened?
He fell down.
Okay. Go ahead and take a seat. And why did you shoot Andrew?
I was scared he was going to kill me.
We talked about that. We've broken that down. Did it take that long, is what you walked through?
No, sir. It was much quicker than that.
After when you saw the figure, could you tell man, woman, anything like that?
In the back of the room, no, you could not see who it was.
All right. After you fired those shots, what's the next thing that you did?
I walked fully inside the apartment. I still had my gun outside since I didn't even, at that point, I didn't know if he was armed. It wasn't to that point when I got to the counter area when everything started realizing that this wasn't my apartment.
What did you start noticing?
I started noticing the Ottoman in the middle of the floor.
Okay. Now, could you see any light in the apartment at this time?
I finally saw that there was the TV light was on.
Is that the first time you noticed that?
Yes, it was.
Prior to that, where had your complete attention been?
On the threat, on the person that I thought was inside my apartment.
As you saw the Ottoman and you moved closer to this person laying on the ground, what's the next thing you saw or felt?
What do you mean?
As you're getting closer, what was going through your mind?
As I was getting closer, that's when it started hitting me that this guy, I have no idea who he is. And that's when everything it started to spin. I was confused. And that's when I dialed 911.
Where were you when you started to dial 911?
I was kneeling down next to him.
Okay. Did you know what had happened or starting to process what happened when you knelt down next to him?
Yes, I started. I knew I had shot him. I wasn't sure where he was hit on his body. I started doing some compressions with my left hand.
What were you doing with your right hand?
I was on the phone with 911.
Is that when we first hear the 911 when the operator picks up?
Yes, sir.
You were trying to do a compression with your left hand.
Yes.
Had you ever done CPR before?
No, I have not.
Did you do that very long?
No, I did not.
What caused you to stop? What caused you to stop doing CPR when you were on 911?
Dispatcher asked me where I was at. I had no idea where I was at. I had to get up and go outside and look at what apartment number I was.
And that's what we hear on the 911 tape when you finally find the number?
Yes, sir.
How did you do that?
I stepped outside and just looked up, and that's when I saw I was in 1478.
And did you tell the operator that at that time?
Yes.
And then what did you do next?
I went back to Mr. John.
Okay. Do you remember turning on the light?
No, I have no idea what part. I had so many thoughts racing through my head. I turned on the light. I have no idea when I turned that light on.
Did that happen after the shooting?
Yes, it did.
Do you know that for a fact?
Yes, I do.
As you went back in, where did you go next?
I went to sit by Mr. John.
Okay. Did you start trying to do a compression at all after that?
I started to do a sternum rub on him.
Okay. What's a sternum rub?
I've seen a lot of paramedics do a sternum rub. A sternum rub is usually you use like your fist and you rub the sternum of someone's chest. Usually that wakes up a lot of people who are unconscious and it hurts.
Okay. Why did you want to do that?
I wanted him to keep breathing. There wasn't the state he was in. I knew it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Was he conscious at all? Could you tell?
And he was a little conscious.
Okay. We hear things from time to time on the 911 of stay with me, bud, things like that. What are you doing when we hear those things? Do you know?
I'm doing the sternum rub on him. I'm rubbing his chest, just trying to keep him there.
I want to play that 911 tape for you again, and then I'll have some questions for you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Hi, this is Officer the Officer. Can I get my name? I'm in number.
Do you need police and or just EMS?
Yes, I need both.
Okay, what's the address?
I'm at apartment number 1478. I'm at 1478.
And what's the address there?
It's 1210 South Lamar, 1478. Yes.
What's going on?
I'm an officer. I thought it was in my apartment, and I shot a guy thinking that he was thinking it was my apartment.
He shot someone?
Yes, I thought it was my apartment. I'm fucked. Oh my god. I'm sorry.
Okay, and where are you at right now?
I'm in, what do you mean? I'm inside the apartment with him. Hey, come on.
What's your name?
I'm Amber Geiger. I need to get me, I'm in.
Okay, we have help on the way.
I know, but I'm with my dog. I thought it was my apartment.
Okay,
Hey, Matt.
hold on.
Fuck.
Okay, stay with me, okay?
I need a supervisor. Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Hey, bud. I thought it was my apartment.
I understand. We have help
I
on the
thought
way.
it was my apartment.
Come on.
Hurry, please.
We're on our way.
I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I could have sworn I parked on the 3rd floor.
Okay, just fine.
No. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment.
And then what's the gate code there?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I thought it was my apartment.
They're trying to get in there. We have an officer there. You don't know the gate code?
No. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment.
Okay, and what floor are you in right now?
The 4th floor. 4th. Hey, bud, they're coming, I'm sorry, man.
Okay, where was he shot?
He's on the top left.
Okay, you were Dallas PD, right?
Yes. Oh my god, I'm deaf. I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. Hey, bud.
They're trying to get
Over here, over here.
Okay, go ahead and talk to me.
No, it's me. I'm off duty. I'm off duty. I thought they were in my apartment. I thought this was my floor.
Amber, do you remember everything that you said on that 911 call?
No, I didn't.
What was going through your mind when you were talking to the operator?
I just wanted someone there with me.
What was going through your mind with botham-jean laying there next to you?
That I shot an innocent man he didn't deserve. I was in my apartment.
When you fired that shot, where did you think you were?
Inside my apartment.
We heard at the end of that tape, officers arriving. How did you know they were there?
I could hear their radio echoes, or you can hear echoes throughout the hall, and I just wanted them to know where I was at.
Those officers came in and had you leave the apartments in there.
Yes, they did. They told me to get out.
And officers, Valentine told you to leave, eventually leave the area. Recall that?
Yes, she did.
We know that you sent a couple of texts towards the end of that call, 3 minutes, 25 seconds to Martin Rivera.
I did.
Tell the jury why you sent those texts.
I was by myself with someone I had just shot. I didn't have the help of another partner to help me with the CPR on him. I was alone with him, and that's the scariest thing you can ever imagine. I just wanted help. I wanted someone there, and he was the first one, my partner I trusted, that I could know he could be there for me.
After you left the apartment, officers arrived. Did you cooperate with the investigation?
Yes, I did what I was told to do.
Did you gave blood?
Yes, I did.
Your uniform?
Yes, I did.
The next day, you can speak with Ranger Armstrong.
Judge, I object. That question violates the motion in limine and this court's very clear instructions.
Sustain.
Can we approach the bench, Your Honor?
Yes. The objection is sustained. Let's move on, Mr. Sherman.
Amber, let's talk for a minute about when you were in that apartment facing what you believe to be a threat. We've heard testimony in the trial about using other types of force, turning on lights, treating, anything like that. Did any of that enter your mind at all?
No, it did not.
What was your focus?
Focus was on him. I just wanted help there. I wanted someone there fast.
You loved your job as a police officer.
I did.
What did you love about it?
Judge, I object to relevance.
Sustain.
Amber. When you pulled your weapon at night and you fired, why did you fire?
So I was scared. I was scared this person's apartment was going to hurt me. And I'm so sorry.
I can't understand.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Geiger, could you please repeat your answer?
I was scared. Whoever was inside my apartment was going to kill me. And I'm sorry. I have to live with that every single day that I hurt.
Judge, I object to non-responsive.
Sustain.
Now that you know, you found out when you came around that counter and shot an innocent man. How do you feel about that?
No police officer ever would want to hurt an innocent person.
Again, I'm sorry. I can't understand.
Ms. Geiger, let's take a second to collect yourself before you speak.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Ready?
Please. Please.
How do you feel what you did to Mr. John?
I feel like a terrible person. I feel like a piece of crap. I hate that I have to live with this every single day of my life. And I ask God for forgiveness, and I hate myself every single day. I feel like I don't deserve the chance to be with my family and friends. I wish he was the one with the gun that killed me. I never wanted to take an innocent person's life. And I am so sorry. This is not about hate. It's about being scared that night.
Non-responsive.
Sustain. Mr. Shook, you want to ask your next question?
Oh, okay. In your bags, the pack that you had, there was various bandages, things like that. Do you recall that?
I knew they put them in there a while ago.
Did you ever think about even using those during this incident?
No. I was panicked. I was panicking.
You'd sent some text to Martin Rivera.
Yes, I did.
Did you delete those texts?
I did.
Did that happen that night? The next day? When did that happen?
It happened very... I deleted them. I was ashamed I was in a relationship. I was in a relationship with him. It's embarrassing.
Had you deleted his text before?
Yes, I have.
Is that your normal routine?
Yes, it was.
I'll pass the whistle to your
questions today concerning the events of September the 6th, and in particular your testimony that Mr. Shook and you just covered, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so at the very end, I'm probably going to go backwards. I'm going to start where you guys ended, and I'm going to move backwards. So one of the things that you obviously wanted to communicate to the jury is just about how bad you feel about what you did to Mr. Jean. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, on the actual day, on September the 6th, 2018, you were captured a lot on body cam. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir. It's
And
true.
in-car video. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, may I publish the remainder of State's Exhibit number 10 at this time?
Yes.
So the representation that you've made today, crying very heavily about all the stuff that you did to Mr. John and how awful that made you feel. Did you feel that at the time on September 6th? Did you feel that kind of sympathy for him as well?
Yes, I was.
I'm going to move back. Do you remember this in-car video?
This is Sergeant Valentine's.
Right, Sergeant Valentine's video as she's about to move the car towards you while you're standing underneath the carport. You're aware that these particular in-car videos capture two perspectives, right? You have the perspective from the car looking out, looking at right now. Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
You also have the perspective from inside the car so that you can see the individual inside the car that might later be used as evidence, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, as we're pulling up on the scene here, stopping at 22:16:19, you got a bunch of your friends around there, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Those people aren't involved in the police investigation, are they?
No, sir.
Those are your friends that have come there, right?
Yes, sir.
You remember you were talking about how alone you felt out there at the scene?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think you even told the jury you being allowed out there with him, alone with him, was the scariest thing you can imagine because you couldn't find a partner or anything. Remember saying that to the jury?
When I was inside the apartment, I was alone.
Exactly. That's the scariest thing you can imagine, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, can you imagine Mr. Jean's perspective, an intruder barging into his apartment, somebody on the other side of that door being you, going in with the purpose of finding the threat and taking care of it, and then having been shot and fallen and being alone in that apartment? Can't you imagine that being a little bit scarier than you just being alone at the moment?
Yes, sir, I can.
So that would probably be the scariest thing you can imagine.
It's how I felt at the time.
I understand how you felt, but you've told the jury because, see, Ms. Geiger, you are very concerned about how you feel, right?
No.
Can you imagine what that man felt?
That's what hurts. And
So let's look at this video, State's Exhibit number 10. That's all your friends that have come there for your comfort, right?
I didn't ask them to come.
That doesn't matter to me. They're there for your comfort and you're taking advantage of it.
No, sir.
All right. I'm going to play this. And that's Sergeant Valentine coming to get you away from your friends and take you to the car, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Because you should be taken away from everybody, isn't that right? You should be in that car.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to change it now so we can see you inside the vehicle, all right?
You want to keep it rolling? Yeah, keep it rolling. Okay. Whatever you do.
All right, so that's you talking, right?
Yes, sir.
You're not crying like you are today. You're asking her, should I keep this thing rolling? What are you talking about?
It's a in-car video.
Right. So you're talking normally, and you say, should I keep this thing rolling?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and Sergeant Valentine tells you, yeah, keep it rolling, but just don't say anything, right?
Yes, she does.
Okay. What are you doing inside the car right now, Miss Geiger?
I have my phone.
What are you doing on your phone, Miss Geiger?
I don't remember exactly what I was doing at that moment.
Then you get out of the car, you go back over to your friends, don't you?
I don't remember where I go to.
Did you see that, Miss Geiger?
No, I did not.
What happened just outside your window? Let me play it again.
Yes, please.
I want you to look out the window of the car door when you get back in and shut the door. I mean, there is a reason why you went back into the car, isn't there?
I don't know.
Okay, look what's happening just to the left outside that window as you get in and shut the door. Does that refresh your recollection of what was happening just outside your door?
No.
That's them carrying the dying body of botham-jean right past the car. Isn't that the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what made you get in the car was them bringing the body down and walking right past you. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And then I'm going to watch it one more time. Mr. Jean is lying on a stretcher being carried by paramedics, right?
Yes, sir.
You can see what you've done. The second he's passed, what do you go do again?
I looked at my phone because I didn't want to see his body.
Looks like you're starting to text somebody again, right?
I looked down at my phone. I don't know what I was doing. It's hard.
Do you see your thumbs moving like you're scrolling
Yes, I do.
around?
I don't know what I'm looking at.
Thank you, Ron. You also said, Ms. Geiger, that a day or so after this particular event, Your Honor, I now approach the bench just to make sure I exhibits? May I at least ask her concerning the relationship after the 6th?
Yes.
Okay. So, Ms. Geiger, you also expressed to the jury that one of the reasons why you deleted all those texts and put them from that particular evening was because you felt ashamed about your relationship with Martin Rivera. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
But starting on September the 8th again, even though with all the texts that you deleted before that, on September the 8th, you're again sending flirtatious messages with him, sexually oriented messages back and forth with Martin Rivera. Again, you know, we're talking about getting drunk. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, how long does this remorse on your part of this feeling about that what you've been doing is wrong, how long did that last? A day or two?
It's lasted every day.
So as this family is thinking about having to bury their son and their brother, 2 days after the event, you are already going back to talking about getting drunk and doing sexual things with Martin Rivera.
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's talk about your 911 call that Mr. Shook played again for the jury. That was about a 5-minute conversation, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And in that conversation, you made it very clear to the 911 call taker why you shot Mr. Jean.
Yes, sir.
You said, I shot a man thinking he was in my apartment.
I did say that.
You said that, right?
Yes, sir, I did say
Okay.
that.
And then you, for 19, 20, or 21 times over the period of 5 minutes, you kept on repeating, I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was my apartment. So you had the time and the inclination and the desire to express to the call taker exactly why you shot botham-jean, didn't you?
It wasn't, I couldn't even express everything I was feeling.
What you didn't say to the call taker not one single time was that he was coming at me. You didn't say that, did you?
I didn't say it, but
You
I
didn't
know
say,
he did.
Ms. Geiger, I'm just going to ask you to answer my questions, okay?
Yes, sir.
You didn't say one time.
She was trying to answer this question.
You're on my question. I'm sorry.
Is there an objection?
Yes, Judge, could you instruct the prosecutor to wait for the witness to answer the question before you interrupt?
Your Honor,
Allow her to answer your question.
I will, Your Honor. I asked her whether or not she made that comment. She indicated no, she didn't. And then she went on into a narrative, Your Honor. You didn't express one time that you shot him because he was coming at you.
I did not on the phone.
Sorry?
I did not over the phone.
You did not express one time that he was armed.
I did not.
You didn't say one time that he put you in fear.
I did not.
Also, when officers Blair and Lee arrived and came in, you met them in the hallway.
Yes, I could. Yes, I did.
You also told them that you shot a person thinking that this person was in your apartment.
I did tell them that.
You didn't say one time, I thought he was armed, did you?
I did not.
You didn't say one time he was coming at me, did you?
I did not.
And he was still alive, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
And if you really, truly, in your heart of hearts, believed that he had a weapon or that he was really a threat, you would have told them, listen, I haven't patted him down, I haven't searched him, and I think he might have a weapon. That's what you'd do for a fellow officer, wouldn't you?
I couldn't. What I felt at that time is what I felt. May have.
If you thought that there was a weapon, you would have told the other Dallas police officers coming up on scene to be cautious, wouldn't you have?
Not at that moment.
All right. So you didn't say one thing to them
No.
about any kind of threat that Mr. Jean posed to you at all.
Not at that moment.
All right. You also indicated that you've never done CPR before.
No, I have not.
But you were trained to do CPR in the academy, were you not?
We were trained. I've never done it on an actual person.
All right. So at least then, to the extent that you weren't suggesting that you didn't know how to properly perform CPR.
They taught us briefly in the academy.
You knew how to perform CPR properly, right?
I never done it on a person. I couldn't say I actually.
Ms. Geiger, were you trained to do CPR properly?
Yes, we were.
Okay. Were you at those classes?
Yes, I was.
Were you paying attention during those classes?
Yes, I was.
Did you properly perform CPR on Mr. Jean?
No, I did not.
And you could have, right?
I tried to do a little CPR.
Why would you try and do a little CPR on a man who's dying who needs your full attention?
Because I had to keep getting up to see where I was at.
That was more important than giving life-saving help to this man.
I had no idea where I was at.
You were able to tell the 911 call taker very, very soon on that you were in apartment 1478. After that moment, why couldn't you have given him full, undivided, and proper attention?
I was still on the phone with...
You can put the phone on speakerphone, ma'am.
I had so much stuff racing through my head.
Oh, obviously, you were also able, at least on 2 occasions, to, you must have stopped completely giving him CPR when you sent a message to Martin Rivera saying, I need you, hurry, right?
I did text him that.
Okay, and so you must have at that point stopped CPR entirely.
Yes, I did.
And then, not even a minute later, you must have stopped CPR entirely again to send a second message to Martin Rivera.
I was already out in the hallway.
Oh, so you had already left him.
That's whenever they told me to leave, the officers.
So that's, no, ma'am, I'm talking about at 10:03 p.m. Mr. Lee, Officer Lee, and Officer Blair didn't arrive until almost 10:05.
Yes, I do remember that, like, whenever they showed me, I sent those text messages.
At 10:03 p.m. and at 10:02 p.m., you sent messages, text messages to Martin Rivera.
Yes, I did.
Text messages that would have required you to have put the phone in a place where you can see it, and you used your fingers to write out the words, I need you, hurry, ... right?
I don't remember how many hands I used.
But you texted Mr. Rivera using your hands.
Yes, I did.
And as you were doing that, you were unable to give Mr. Jean your full attention, the attention that he deserved.
Yes, I did.
And then you made the choice to do that a second time. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
All right, so at both of those times, you put your needs and your wants over his.
I still cared about him.
Did you put your needs and your wants over him when you decided to do that?
No, sir.
All right. And then you went out into the hall. You left him alone.
When I heard the officers coming, I stepped outside.
So you decided to do something other than continue to give Mr. Jean life-saving measures.
I wanted somebody there fast to get him
You're
help.
not going to answer my questions, are you?
Yes, sir, I am.
When you went out into the hall, you did that because that was what you chose to do, even though you knew you should be giving that man life-saving treatment.
Yes, sir.
You didn't know that he was going to die. I mean, you knew he was in really bad shape, right?
Yes.
You didn't know at that moment in time that you had actually shot him and severed his ventricle from his heart. You didn't know that, right?
No, I did not.
In those moments, you know as a trained officer just how critical it is to make sure that you give life-saving treatment as fast and as proper as possible so you can maximize their ability to survive. You know that.
Yes, sir.
And yet, despite knowing that repeatedly, you made choices and decisions that suited you more than him.
No, sir.
You also indicated that you had done CPR, but yet there's no blood anywhere on your uniform or on your shoes.
There is not.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is you and Mr. Shook kind of recreated from your recollection what you were able to see inside apartment 1478, especially with respect to the movement of Mr. Jean. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'm going to see if I can recreate this. So you said this was about 30 feet away, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you said that you saw Mr. Jean doing some sort of a pacing thing, right?
Yes, he was moving back and forth.
Okay, how many seconds did this last?
Very few.
2, 3, 4, 5?
I couldn't give you an exact number.
Okay, well, I want something a little bit as best you can give me.
Maybe 2 or 3 seconds.
Okay, 2 or 3 seconds. You're standing there at the door. The door is fully open, right?
Yes, sir.
The hallway that you're standing in with the door fully open, there's bright lights out in that hallway, isn't there?
It's lidded.
It's bright as heck, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And those lights were coming into Mr. Jean's apartment, which allowed you to see him doing this, right?
I could see from it was just lit, so you could still see his movements a little bit from, I guess.
I'm asking you a very simple question. From where you were standing in the doorway, you've indicated to Mr. Shook that you were able to see him standing at the back doing this, and you've indicated that was for about 2 or 3 seconds. Is that your testimony or not?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So you were able to see the furthest into the furthest reaches of his apartment from the door, and you were able to actually see him doing a very distinct motion.
He was moving.
Okay. And so then you said you saw him walking.
Yes.
Or coming towards you.
Yes.
Okay, and then you said that at about here, from here to where you were at the door, that's when you decided to shoot twice.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's called a double tap, right?
Yes, sir.
Was that what you were intending?
Yes, sir.
That's your training, isn't it?
It's what we're trying to do.
It's training. Double tap maximizes the lethality of your shooting, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's better than one shot to the heart.
I just did what I was trained to do.
Because you resort to training, right?
Yes, I do.
You rely on your training.
Yes, sir.
It aids you.
Yes, sir.
And in crisis, you resort to your training.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to come back to that. So you indicated to Mr. Shook that Mr. John was standing about here, you're in the door when you shot him twice. You shot at him twice.
Yes, sir.
So is that going to be right there in the main hallway of that apartment, like when you open up the door? Let me just reorient this. So this is the door to apartment 1478, right?
Yes, sir.
You with me?
Yes.
It opens to the left, just like this, right?
Yes.
Right, so you're saying that you're standing inside, somewhere here around the door, and you see him coming from the very back, coming right at you.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so it's going to be in that main corridor, like if you compare it to your apartment, where your little baker's rack and your clock is, that main hallway, right?
Yes. Explain it again, please.
Okay, so are you talking about the main pathway in that particular apartment, where from the door you can see all the way back to the end of 1478?
Yes.
Okay, so it's in that main pathway.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That we approach. Sure. So you've indicated this was where Mr. John was standing then, and the front door where you were standing was right in front.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's when you shot him twice.
Yes, sir.
And when Mr. Shook came walking up, this was the position he was standing in when you confirmed that that's when you shot him.
He came at me saying he was standing in that position, yes.
That's true. And I did not mention that, and I thank you for clarifying that. One of the things that happened in the walk from 30 feet up to here was that Mr. John said, hey, hey, right?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes, sir.
You don't fault him for that, do you?
Not now.
No, it's his apartment.
I know that now.
Yeah. And so when you shot him, you indicated with Mr. Shook. Mr. Shook was standing right here, and that's where you shot him twice, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and this was the position Mr. Shook was standing, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you give us then some sort of an explanation that would satisfy the jury how then you have a bullet hole that's over in the rightmost corner of the apartment over there if this is where he's standing?
That I cannot explain. I'm not an expert
It
in
just is
that.
physically impossible, isn't it?
I don't know that for sure.
Okay. Can you explain to me, you saw the medical examiner, right? You saw his testimony about the path of the bullet?
I did.
All right, so that would have indicated, stand up again. Watch your step, please. Take a normal shooting position. You have a one-handed shooting position, correct? All right. Mr. Jean is a good 4 inches taller than me. In order for that bullet to have gone into him at that angle, he must have been bent over something like this, right?
I don't know what he was.
If you saw the trajectory that the medical examiner testified to, do you have any reason to think that the medical examiner is lying?
I don't.
But so your testimony is that he was standing straight up, looking you in the eye, or looking right at you when you shot him in the chest.
Yes, sir, when I saw him. It's the last thing I saw.
So you were looking that man right in the eye when you shot him in the heart?
I wouldn't say his eye. I was looking at the person that was standing in front of me.
Okay, and you're trained, not only did you do a double tap, again relying on your training, but you shot him exactly where you as a police officer are trained to aim, didn't you?
Yes, that's where we're trained.
Were you trained to shoot a human being?
On Rephrase that?
Where are you trained
Oh.
to shoot a human being?
In the center mass.
That's right. And you're trained repeatedly when you qualify to shoot at an individual center mass if you wish to stop them.
Yes, sir.
All right, and you know what a bullet is, don't you?
I do.
So you knew when you were shooting that gun that you were using deadly force against Mr. Jean.
Yes, it was a threat at the time.
Ma'am, will you answer my questions, please?
Yes, sir.
When you shot at Mr. Jean, you knew you were using deadly force against him.
Yes.
You know what a bullet can do, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And when you shot at him twice, you intended to kill him.
Yes, sir.
All right. So all this stuff about it being a sad mistake, at the moment in time when rubber meets the road, when you pulled that trigger, you intended to kill Mr. Jean.
He was the threat. Yes, sir.
Will you answer my question? When you aimed and pulled the trigger at Mr. Jean, shooting him in center mass exactly where you are trained, you intended to kill Mr. Jean.
I did.
You indicated to Mr. Shook that you gave loud verbal commands, and I hope I wrote it down right, let me see your hands. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And in court today, you've been somewhat soft-spoken, but I know as a police officer, you have an outside voice, don't you?
I do.
All right. So when you say and you give loud verbal commands, your loud verbal commands weren't like you told this jury today, were they?
They were loud. I told him to let me see your hands, let me see your hands.
Okay. Why don't you really tell them how a police officer gives loud verbal commands when they really want compliance?
Judge, you object to relevance as to how a real police officer tells them? You said a real police officer?
I can rephrase if you want.
Please rephrase.
As a police officer, when it really matters, how do you give a loud verbal command?
In an authoritative and clear voice.
You would have said, let me see your hands! Let me see your hands! Right?
It would be a loud voice.
That's
Yes.
right. Not like you showed them earlier today. You would have been almost screaming that at him, wouldn't you?
I didn't scream it.
All right. But you're saying that happened at the threshold of the door with the door open, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're actually partially in the hallway.
Yes, I guess you can say that.
Okay? I mean, you're not fully in the apartment and you're not fully in the hallway. You're right in the middle, right?
Yes, sir.
You understand that neighbors say that they can, all the neighbors that testified along that hall who are closest to Mr. Jean,
Yes.
the people that live, I mean, the ones that we call as witnesses are the ones who live across from him, next door to him, the closest as we could find possible of 300 people that live there, right?
Yes, sir.
Not one of them heard you say that.
I can't tell you why.
Well, it's because you didn't say it.
Not true, sir.
I want to talk to you now about the decision before you actually went in. So, again, I want to go over what you told Mr. Shook, okay? You said, and I'm going to use this again as the door to 1478, all right? You said it was slightly ajar and that you noticed that, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said that you put the key in with your right hand. You noticed the red light blinking, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Okay. But when you did that, the door, even though it's weighted and it's going to close on its own, pushed open a little bit, didn't you?
The force of me putting the key in opened it.
Okay, so that force, but you said that just from that small amount of force that you put just to put the key in and the door opening a little bit, you could hear movement inside, like shuffling or moving around.
Yes.
Okay. And then you said you made the decision at that point, from that perspective, I wanted, as the door began to open, I was wanting to find the threat.
Yes, there was someone in my apartment.
Right. And you knew that before this door had been fully open. You wanted to find the threat and fully open that door, and that's when you saw Mr. Jean.
No,
True?
sir. No, sir. It happened so quickly.
You said, I put the key in and I hear moving around. As the door began to open, I wanted to find the threat. As the door was opened fully, that's when you saw the silhouette.
Yes, sir.
So you knew from outside that door, with the protection of that door between you, that there was something inside that was making noise.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here were your options then. Your options were, at this point, to go in and find the threat, or your option would have been, I'm going to back off, I'm going to take a position of cover and concealment, and I'm going to get some help out here. Those are options, right?
And they are.
Okay. But you chose option A, which was, I'm going in to find the threat.
That was the only option that went through my head. I was at home, and I...
Ma'am, will you answer my questions?
Yes, sir.
You chose to go in and find the threat, even though you were in a position to have taken cover and concealment, right?
No, sir.
Your training, which you've told this jury several times now, that you revert to. You've told them that, right?
Yes, I have.
You rely on that training is what you've said.
Yes, I do.
That's why you pulled the gun when you pulled the gun, right?
Yes, sir.
That's why you keep your right hand empty.
Yes, sir.
That's why you backed your truck in, correct?
Yes, sir.
Because that's what police do, right?
Yes, sir.
But you're telling me at the most critical moment of the entire thing, your training just abandoned you.
No, sir.
No. Because your training says that when you're at this point here, for officer safety, to maximize your safety, do not go inside that apartment.
On a call.
Ma'am, your general orders indicate that you are on duty 24/7.
They do.
And you know that that training is designed for your safety, first and foremost.
Yes, sir.
And that's not only what your orders are, that's how you guys are trained.
Yes, sir.
So for your safety, you should have taken a position of cover and concealment and got help. And instead you decided to go in.
Yes, I did go in.
You had a police radio on you, didn't you?
I did.
Did it work?
It did.
You live 2 blocks away from police headquarters.
Yes, sir.
You know that when you call out as a police officer, the number one thing for every other police officer is to come and help you if you say that you need help.
Yes, sir.
You know that the response time on this call was about 2 minutes and bodies were at the apartment.
Yes, sir.
So you could have taken a position of cover and concealment. You could have called for help on your radio, and you could have had the cavalry there in 2 minutes.
I could have.
You could have had SWAT mobilized.
They could have.
You could have had K-9 mobilized.
They could have also.
Right. And had you done any one of those things, Mr. Jean would probably be alive today. Right?
Yes, sir.
Nevertheless, you wanted to go in and find the threat, and that's exactly what you did, right?
I did that.
And even after you opened the door, even though you had all those options before the door was fully opened, even after that door was opened, you told the jury 30 feet away, you're seeing Mr. Jean at the furthest back point of his apartment doing some sort of a side-to-side motion.
And
Right?
I saw a silhouette.
And ask it again. From the door, you've testified that you could see Mr. Jean doing a side-to-side motion.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you've testified on this cross-examination that you watched that for, I think you said 2 or 3 seconds.
Yes, it was. I think it was.
Okay? I'm not going to hold you to that, approximately 2 to 3 seconds. Right?
Yes, sir.
In that 2 to 3 seconds, let's just watch that. 1, 2, 3. In that 2 to 3 seconds, you could have done that too, couldn't you have?
I
You
could
could have done that as well, couldn't you have?
do what?
You could have backed away and let that door shut on its own.
I could have.
You could have done that.
Yes, sir.
You chose not to do that.
No, sir.
Instead, you chose to pull your gun, to level it off and shoot at Mr. Jean.
I did do that.
That was your choice.
It was my choice.
Even though you could have backed off at least twice now to a position where you would have been more safe and he would have been alive.
I could have.
So you indicated, Ms. Geiger, that your conversation with Mr. Rivera that particular evening was innocuous, of no consequence, it was just banter.
Yes, sir.
You indicated that, in fact, you didn't pull over once you entered your parking garage, that you drove up and parked in that space where we see your pickup truck on the 4th floor.
I did not pull over.
Let me just ask the question again because I just want to make sure I understand it. Are you telling this jury that when you entered the parking garage, you drove all the way from the gate up to the 4th floor, backed in just as we see your pickup truck?
I did.
Okay, without making any kind of stops in between?
No.
You understand, you've seen from the video records of the Southside Flats, ma'am, that your truck enters at approximately 9:46, right?
Yes, sir.
That is your truck.
Yes, sir.
And then you heard the testimony of Mr. Jones, the coach and the chemistry teacher, who came in here and swore and talked to this jury, right?
Yes, sir.
So he entered at about 9:53, 9:54, which is going to be 7 to 8 minutes after you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and his testimony was that he drove around up to the 4th floor and he parked sometime around 9:54 p.m. Couldn't have been any earlier because that's when he drove in. And that he parked and that he saw you coming around the corner driving in such a way that made him take notice of your white truck.
I heard him say that.
So you believe that to be a lie?
I don't think I drove that fast that night.
Okay, but you understand that if he saw you do that, unless he's lying to this jury for some reason, then you couldn't have already been there like you testified to.
I couldn't answer that, sir.
I mean, his testimony was pretty clear that you stood up, especially after you got out of the truck, because you're a police officer.
I did back up into my truck and stay on the phone.
All right, but you're gonna stick with that you did not pull over.
I do not ever remember pulling over.
You said that another thing in this conversation that you were having, Mr. Rivera, because it was a rather long one, right? 16 minutes and 44 seconds. It was a pretty good conversation.
Yes, it was.
Y'all were talking about, the arrest that had happened that he was part of, but the part, I guess, after he had left is what you all were talking about for that period of time?
Yes, sir.
And you said that another subject of conversation was about the Boy Scout meeting that he had to attend, right?
Yes, sir.
But y'all had already talked about that over text, so why would you have been talking about that again?
Texting's texting, but you can get more through talking.
If this was just innocent banter, Ms. Geiger, if this was just flirtatious back and forth, then why does Mr. Rivera, Officer Rivera, check in with you twice, saying something like, "Are you still there?" Why would he do that if there wasn't some plan for later that evening?
I couldn't answer that.
Okay, well, maybe you can answer this then. If there was no plan for later that evening, why would you have the need to tell Officer Rivera that you were just leaving?
I don't know. It's how I just texted him I was leaving, but...
Why? Why would you do that unless you were letting him know, okay, I'm done work now?
It's what I did that night. I can't tell you what reasoning it was a year ago.
Unless you were planning on coordinating schedules, why would it have even crossed your mind to let him know that you were leaving?
I don't know. I just texted him I was leaving.
And it's just a coincidence that within a couple of minutes of you sending him a text letting him know that you're leaving, you also sent him a Snapchat image, which we don't have, with the text phrase, "want to touch."
I did do that.
So that's just a coincidence.
It's what happened that night.
What was that image?
I couldn't tell you.
Was it an image of you or something else?
I honestly could not tell you.
I'd like to talk a little bit about that too, because you indicated to this jury that it was because of some morality on your part that you discontinued the sexual relationship with Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
And that has to do with the fact that he's married and has kids. This was bothering you, right?
Yes, it was.
But your morality doesn't seem to be affected at all by sending him naked pictures of you, right?
No, I did do that.
You did that a lot.
I did.
And he would sometimes tell you in the kind of poses he wanted you to send, right?
Yes, he did.
And you would send him those pictures, right?
Yes, he did.
And it was back and forth. You would tell him to send you pictures of his anatomy.
I did.
And y'all had special words for his anatomy too, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. And you would repeatedly ask him to send those pictures to you, even up to and including that particular night.
I did.
So your morality, your moral code, I guess out of respect to Mr. Rivera's wife and his kids, puts sex off limits, but anything else is fair game.
I did do that.
All right, so it's your testimony then that even though there was no intent for you and Mr. Rivera to meet up that night, you were nevertheless not going to just go home and crash. You were going to go work out.
It's a normal habit. I was.
Ask it again. Was it your plan to go home and work out?
Yes, it was.
So your plan was after your shift, you were going to go home. I guess you were going to change, and then where is it that you work out?
At the 24-hour fitness.
And is that within walking distance, or is that a good drive away?
It's a drive. It's downtown Dallas.
Okay. So your plans were you were going to go home, you were going to go to your apartment, you were going to get changed, you're then going to leave your apartment, you were going to go back to your truck, you were going to get in your truck, drive to the gym, and have a workout.
I was.
That was the game plan.
Yes, sir.
So whatever this thing about you being sleepy, it wasn't such that you were incapacitated physically, right?
No, I wasn't completely drained. I just wanted to go work out.
I mean, you wouldn't have been driving on the streets of Dallas if you were going to be running over like pedestrians or hurting people, right?
No, sir.
So you had your wits about you, right?
I was still awake.
You were talking earlier also. Let me see that email we have. So they were doing moisture testing that week at your apartment, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you received an email from the staff at the apartment complex. And I think your testimony was that you guys were made aware that they were going to be doing certain testing, and then you testified that it was going to be like between the hours of, what did you say, 8 to 4, 8 to 5?
8 to 4, around there.
Or 8 to 5. So you can remember that there was a specific time given, right?
Yes.
Can I approach this witness, Judge?
Yes.
I'm showing Mr. Mark for identification as State's Exhibit number 319. Can you read the portion down here and tell me if this is the email that you received indicating what was going to be happening the week of September 4th through September 7th?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and I'm going to let you read. Did you read it all the way to there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the second page.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so this is going to be an email that looks like it was sent out to all of the residents by name, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. There's no time in there, is there?
It's an all-day event to me is like normal working hours.
Well, but that's not what you told the jury. You told the jury a specific set of hours. You understand your credibility is absolutely critical.
Judge, we'll legit to the sidebar.
Sustained.
Do you understand that your credibility is vitally important in this case?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you agree that there is absolutely nothing in this email that says it's going to be conducted between any specific set of hours?
There's not.
You've lived in an apartment before, is that right?
I have.
As have I. And in apartments, maintenance happens, correct?
Yes, it does.
Emergencies happen, right?
They do.
And in your lease, I'm sure you know, and you tell me if you don't, that they can send in folks, like if you have a pipe that bursts or if there's an electrical fire, There may be an occasion, day or night, where someone may have to go into your home.
Yes, that's true.
That you know this, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And did that reality factor in to your decision at all? Did you even let that get, in your thought process that there might be somebody who is legitimately inside there before you shot?
No, sir.
But yet you knew that too. You knew that could be a possibility.
What would be a possibility?
There may be a legitimate maintenance issue. You just don't know.
Okay.
Did you even think about that?
Not that late at night.
Okay. You also, in your testimony with Mr. Shook, indicated that you were concerned about some of the crime, because you do a lot of background research, right?
Yes, sir.
And you had been concerned about some of the stuff that was going on at the Southside Flats, right?
Yes, sir.
That would be an additional reason, though, for you to be even more vigilant and observant, correct?
You could say that.
I mean, Ms. Geiger, are you aware that you've got over 3,250 training hours?
Yes, sir.
You are not like a regular citizen like me. You've got thousands of hours of police training, right?
Yes, sir.
Your job requires you to be observant and aware of your situation, right?
It does.
And as a matter of fact, your job with CRT, the interview position, the only reason why you could be there is because you showed an acumen and a skill for things like observation and situational awareness.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
When you were talking with Mr. Shook on direct examination, you had indicated, that this place here caused you some concern because of all of the bad stuff that was going on, right?
I did.
Do you remember having a conversation? You know a person by the name of Chamberlain?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you remember having a conversation with Chamberlain by text on August the 21st of 2018 where he asked you, how do you like your new place?
I do not remember that,
May I
sir.
approach the witness?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Geiger, would you take a look at this text exchange and tell me if this helps refresh your recollection with Mr. Chamberlain?
I don't remember ever sending it, but I did send it.
Okay. And when asked about how you felt about the Southside Flats, your response to him, again on August the 21st, was, I'm liking it, right?
I did.
And then you said, few homeless here and there, and a lot of hippies smoking weed.
Yes, I did send that.
All right. You didn't say anything in there about the rank crime and all this other stuff that has caused you to be so concerned, right?
I did not.
And Chamberlain, he's a police officer, isn't he?
She is.
She is. I apologize. She's a police officer, right?
Yes, sir.
So to a fellow officer, you're not gonna hold back. Is that right?
I can't say I would or wouldn't.
Well, that's what you said, though.
I did say that.
Some people smoking weed, but you're liking it.
It's what I said in that message.
But today, in front of this jury, it sounds like all kinds of mayhem is going on.
Yes, sir.
You remember when you were testifying on direct with Mr. Shook, on a couple of occasions you indicated that you wanted to become a police officer because you wanted to help people.
Yes, sir.
And then a second time you took the opportunity to tell Mr. Shook that becoming a police officer was important because you could help people, right?
Yes.
Do you recall working the MLK parade on January the 15th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
We approach.
Exhibit 228.
Yes.
Ms. Geiger. This is a view outside of apartment 1478, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You see that bright red floor mat there?
Yes, sir.
You don't have a floor mat in front of your apartment, do you?
I do not.
Would you agree with me that there is no other bright red round floor mat
It does.
anywhere on the third floor or the fourth floor as best you can recall?
Doesn't appear that way.
And you see these doors right here and this wall column right there?
I do.
That's exactly the same as it is for your apartment, right? You know that they're there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that would have been a perfect place for you to take cover and concealment, stepping back just a couple of feet from that door, had you chosen to do that.
It could have.
Let's just see, I think that I want to just ask you a couple of questions about the charge. You don't have any dispute that everything that we've talked about today occurred on September the 6th, 2018, right?
It did occur.
On September the 6th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
And that this entire event happened in Dallas County, Texas?
It did happen in Dallas.
You are Amber Geiger.
I am Amber Geiger.
The victim in this case, the complainant in this case is botham-jean, right?
Yes, he is.
And you shot and killed Mr. Jean with your gun.
I did. I
Right.
did. I did.
And that your gun is a firearm, is that right?
Yes, it is.
And you've already testified previous to now that it was your intent to do exactly that.
Yes, it was.
You attended de-escalation training, haven't you?
Yes, sir, I have.
Matter of fact, you attended de-escalation training in April, just a few months before this particular event, didn't you?
I don't remember when the last time I did.
You want me to show you, or do you believe me?
You can show me.
That's you.
Yes, sir.
Did you turn the mic on? Did you turn the lights on?
Sorry. Does that refresh your recollection of when you took de-escalation?
Yes, sir.
What was the date?
4/25 of 2018.
How many hours was that class?
8 hours.
That was important to you, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
You understand that policing as a whole is trying to adopt more of a de-escalation approach when circumstances permit, right?
It does.
And in that particular case, in that particular class, did you pay attention?
I don't remember everything they went over in that class.
Do you recall them emphasizing to you, take advantage of time, to buy time so that additional resources can be obtained for your safety and for the safety of the people that you're dealing with?
I don't remember hearing that then.
All right. You recall that class, the criteria about anything turning assumptions into facts?
I do not.
Well, tell me what it is. I'll tell you what, instead of me telling you to go through the curriculum, what did you get from that class?
I don't remember what was said. It's been a while since I've taken that class.
But you're supposed to attend these classes and then take from them tools and tips that you can take out into the community so that you can be a better police officer, right?
Yes, sir.
And you understand de-escalation is vitally important, especially to major segments of our community.
I do, sir.
So what did you take from that class?
I can't remember back then. It's been over a year.
Did you change any of the way in which you did business before, after
No.
taking that class?
No, I could still Like then it would be easier to remember, not now.
On September the 6th, 2018, Ms. Geiger, were you in good health?
Yeah, would say so. Yes, sir.
Okay, you worked out, you kept yourself in good physical shape. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
You weren't feeling ill that particular day?
Just normal.
All right. Your vision, you have good vision, don't you?
Yes, sir.
You had the LASIK procedure done, didn't you?
I did.
And that actually made your eyes, was it better than 20/20?
I don't know what it is.
Okay. But you got no vision issues?
No, I don't think so.
Your hearing is good?
Yes, sir.
Your ability to smell okay?
Yes, sir.
You had lived in Southside Flats for a little less than 2 months when the shooting happened, right?
Yes, sir.
And you testified on direct that the way that you came into your apartment every day was going down that main hallway by the elevator, correct?
Yes, sir.
So every single day for 2 months, probably at least twice a day, you would walk past that decorative urn that Ms. Blee had out in front of her apartment, right?
I mean, there's probably something there, but I never paid attention to anything that they had on their doormats.
Again, you're a 5-year veteran police officer who has a necessary and critical aspect of which is observational skills and situational awareness, and you're telling me that you have never once noticed.
I probably noticed it, but I didn't ever, it was just there. It was something that was probably commonly there, but you never stared at it for a long period of time.
You also know where the apartment numbers are on the signs next to the door, right?
In the top left.
Right. I mean, it's not like you're a first-time person coming in. You know, and you knew on September the 6th, 2018, exactly where apartment numbers are located on the signpost.
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Geiger, you see, I'm going through the backpack that you had on September the 6th. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, are the contents of this backpack as they exist in this courtroom right now going to be the contents that existed on September the 6th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
So inside your backpack, which you took all the way into apartment 1478, right?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall that this backpack and your heavy vest and your lunch pail was put down next to Mr. Jean?
Yes, sir.
So you had this right within arm's reach in that 5 minutes of time when you could have been giving him your full attention.
Yes, sir.
Inside this backpack, you've got something called combat gauze, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
This is for treating a person who has been injured, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it says on there, for temporary external use to control traumatic bleeding.
Yes, sir.
Would you agree that Mr. Jean was bleeding horribly from the gunshot wound that you put into his chest?
I don't recall much blood, sir.
You were able to tell the responding officers exactly where the bullet wound is. How would you have known that had you not looked?
What do you mean? Like, I knew he was shot somewhere.
You told them exactly where he was shot.
Top left.
Right. How would you have known that if you hadn't have looked to where he had been shot?
I knew where he was shot.
How? From the time that you shot him?
No, when I turned on the lights.
Okay, so did you look at the bullet wound?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you knew he was injured with a bullet, right?
Yes, I did.
And a person bleeds when they're injured with a bullet, correct?
Yes, they do.
Is there a reason why you didn't use this stuff right here, which is designed to control traumatic bleeding?
It never crossed my mind.
It didn't even cross your mind?
No, sir.
Even though he's bleeding in front of you,
No,
and this is inches from you,
it did not cross my
it
mind.
never crossed your mind to use this?
No, sir.
This is the first aid kit that's also included in there, right?
Yes, sir.
And you've got more of that exact same stuff in here. Hemostat gauze dressing for bleeding control.
Yes, sir.
That's also unopened, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So, other than, I'm trying to understand this, other than with just one hand periodically with interruptions doing some compressions, did you really do anything else to try and help Mr. Jean?
The sternum rub.
Thank you for your time, Ms. Geiger.
Thank you, sir.
Pass the witness.
Remember when you were walking down,
Go ahead.
when you were walking down that hall, on your way to the apartment, what was your state of mind? What were you feeling?
Sorry, hold on. I was calm. I was relaxed.
Were you paying attention to mats, and things on doors, anything like that?
I was just going home, so all I wanted to do was go home.
Mr. Hermes asked you questions about burglary calls, taking cover, asking for backup, asking for K9. Did you feel in any way this was a burglary call you were responding to?
No, I was responding to my own home.
What were you thinking when that door began to open when you took the fob?
I was at my apartment.
When you heard rustling inside as that door opened, did you stop and wait outside and think about what you were hearing?
No, I went in
How quickly was that happening?
seconds.
What was your thought when you thought you were going in your home and the door opened?
And somebody was inside.
Were you thinking as a policeman answering a burglary
No.
call at all?
I was thinking I was relaxed right before, and all of a sudden I come home, and then there's somebody inside my apartment. My heart rate just shot up.
All these other things Mr. Hermes asked you about calling for backup or retreating to cover, any of that in your mind when you were face to face with this person you saw in the back?
No, it didn't have to. It was, I was going home. It wasn't a call.
Mr. Hermes said, had you estimate times? Did you have a stopwatch at all? Were you timing any of this, or what was happening?
No, sir. It was just happening quick. It was quick. That's all I can say. It was seconds.
And when you saw this figure, this person dancing toward you, show you stage 100. We see this counter, this area here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where was this person when you made the decision to shoot?
Right in front of the armrest of the couch, but in front of the counter still.
Somewhere in this area.
Yes, sir.
And when you made that decision to fire in this area, how many feet? I've measured this off and I've talked about it. 12, 13, 14, 15 feet.
12, 15 feet.
The area I'm in now.
Yes, sir. From where I was standing.
That was the distance between you and him.
Yes, sir.
You talked on direct, Mr. Hermes asked you questions about the tone of voice you said when you said, let me show your hands. Let me see your hands.
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. The volume that you used when we demonstrated, is that the volume you used?
That he used?
That
Or
you used?
yes, sir. It was clear and precise.
You've heard the state's allegation that you're just lying about that you said no.
I did. But
You did?
I know I said I know what I did and what I said that night. And I did say, let me see your hands, let me see your hands.
Was he sitting on the couch at all?
No, never saw him sitting on the couch.
Was he moving? Was he just standing? What was he doing when you fired the shot?
He was just moving, advanced towards me whenever I shot the first two shots where he ended up falling down.
And why did you shoot?
Because I was scared that he was going to come at me and kill me.
That was your reason?
Yes, sir. I was scared, and I thought he was advancing towards me. He had a weapon.
And then when you found out you'd shot an innocent man, what did you think?
Everything changed.
Judge, I'm going to check. This is cumulative.
I'll allow.
You started realizing that when you were calling 911?
Yes, sir.
The state of mind, that what we hear in your voice and what you're saying, is that what was going? What was
It-
going?
Sorry. I object to the leading of the question, sir.
Sustain. Please don't leave Mr. Shook.
Can you describe your state of mind as you were on that 911?
My mind was racing. I didn't know where I was at. I had this guy laying on the floor. I wanted paramedics. It was so much processing through my mind. I would never want anybody to ever have to go through or even imagine going through what I felt that night. Just, you can't think you forget so much now.
Did you in any way think you were having to give your full story as you're on the 911 with the 911 operator?
No, I just wanted someone help. I just wanted someone there as quickly as they could get there.
Why did you leave to go find those officers?
Because I could hear them, but it just felt like they were taking forever. And I just wanted to go out there and just let them know where I was at instead of searching for me.
Why did you want their help?
To get Mr. John to the hospital.
I'll pass away.
Ms. Geiger, did you?
Hold on. Before we resume your cross-examination, we're going to take our lunch break. We'll start back again at 10 minutes after 1.
All right. for purposes of the record, there were a number of sidebar conferences at the bench where the state was asking permission based on the court's pretrial rulings and orders. The state wanted to examine Ms. Geiger on a couple of text exchanges that she had because of the representation through the direct examination.
Oh, you all may be seated. I'm sorry.
So the representation to the jury through the direct examination was that Amber Geiger, the defendant, wanted to be a police officer because they help people, and she later offered, I believe on her own, that as a police officer she could help people. There were two text messages that I think that are directly relevant to discrediting that representation. I've marked them for purposes of this hearing as States Exhibit 317 and 320. The court knows what they say, so I see no reason why I should speak them out loud, but I'd like them to be part of the record.
Let me get this right. You said 317
Yes, ma'am.
and 320,
Yes, ma'am.
and it's 317 the email cable.
Yes, ma'am. And then the 320 is the one concerning the...
I remember.
Okay. The state would request permission to clear up that representation in front of the jury. I think that these show a completely different state of mind of the defendant and what she thinks that police and the citizens, how they should be.
And as I stated here at sidebar, I was not going to allow that. While we're at lunch break, I'll do some more research, but I think that is entirely, the prejudicial value outweighs the probative value of what State 317 and 320 might add to the ultimate questions that the jury will have to decide.
I understand, Your Honor.
I'll see you all at 10 after 1.